SaveWithConrad.com.
My name's Daryl. Came from Massachusetts and I moved to Wisconsin. And there's a lot of people that might be asking, why go with Conrad? Why go with Supreme Lending? And let me tell you something, brother. I think about the credentials, the tag team partner that I'd be working with. First of all, we got the podfather himself, Conrad. How can you go wrong with that? And then also go on to SaveWithEric.com, which, you know, who else could have kicked Vince's ass for 83 consecutive weeks? You can't beat that duo right there. But they did bring a secret weapon, and I didn't realize this because this was not advertised. I worked closely with Larry the Axe Thompson. And let me tell you, with all the stress with moving across the country with a large family that I have, it was reassuring to know that I had the enforcer at my back, handling questions from the other side of sellers, the other side with trying to find the right prices. He took care of all that. All I had to do was keep my eye on the prize and make it there to Wisconsin. They were absolutely fantastic. They checked in on me, especially Francis, very patient with me. I don't go through this process all the time, so I trusted the experts. I was able to call them. They called me if they had questions, and it felt like it was a personal arrangement. There was even a point in which, from the seller side, they wanted something else that wasn't part of the norm. Francis straight up told me, hey, we're loyal to you. We'll do whatever you want to do, and we'll make sure that you guys are taken care of. They came through. I made it to the dream. I'm the champion of my own destiny here. They were able to help pave the way for me and my family. I couldn't be more happy with the results. I went from having less than an acre to now 20 acres worth of land. They made that dream a reality. I'm Daryl, and I'm living in Friendship, Wisconsin, in my dream home, thanks to SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 212, non-equal housing lender. SaveWithConrad.com.
Welcome to Something To Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Well, you know, that's not a rib. She pooted.
What a rib.
No, there's no box of gimmicks.
Rumor and innuendo.
I don't deal in rumor and innuendo. And was he there? I was there. I don't give a shit. I ain't scared.
I ain't scared of shit.
Fuck him.
Fuck you, Bruce.
I love you. Give me double cheeseburger. Double cheese. Double mayo. Double onion, motherfucker.
Bruce Prichard. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with John Layfield. John, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, not much, Conrad. You know, it's pretty evident at this point now. I've had this show for about a year. This may be my show. This may be no longer Bruce Prichard show. It may not be Something to Wrestle with John Layfield, question mark. It may be Something to Wrestle with John Layfield. That's what it may be. I think I've taken over for Bruce.
That's not what I'm hearing.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I was under the impression that Bruce was coming back just any time now.
Nah, I don't think he is. Nah, that's just Bruce being Bruce. Bruce didn't come back. Probably never. It's my show, and I might let him come back and be a guest. Well, you know what I might do? In all honesty, seriously, I'll give him a segment on the show.
Well, that's nice of you.
He can tape it like on a Thursday or something.
Oh, so you don't want to appear on the show with him?
No, he did a podcast that day and didn't do this one.
Oh, so that's right. He was on Cody's podcast. I saw that. Yeah,
that's right. So if Cody wants to be on here, we'll be on here with him. But if Bruce wants to be on here, he can tape it by himself on his iPhone and send it to the stud muffin Dave Silva, and Dave can insert it in here in like the post fact thing after the show's over. Like, oh, by the way, bonus content +3.
How often have you inserted Bruce?
He is a good-looking man. You got to insert Bruce all the damn time. He likes donkeys. I mean, loves donkeys. Tall donkeys, short donkeys, fat donkeys, black donkeys, red donkeys, white donkeys, brown donkeys. He likes donkeys.
Well,
we need a shirt. Bruce likes donkeys.
Now that is a shirt I can get behind. We'll work on Bruce likes donkeys. In the meantime, we have had a lot of fun last week here on the program, John, talking about the 17,138 and counting people that you've blocked on Twitter.
Yes.
And if you yourself have been blocked by John, consider yourself part of the exclusive club and shout it out, celebrate it as an official block club member. That's right. We've got a brand new shirt celebrating that you've been blocked by John Layfield over at somethingtowrestlemerch.com. Grab your block club tee now. Did you ever think this is a thing where you would be monetizing your love of blocking assholes on Twitter?
No, but I got to get something out of these guys. You know, they try to heckle me so they get blocked. And I was supposed to have the block club shirt on today, but apparently my mailman here in Bethesda, Maryland, was probably blocked by me too, the dickhead. And he didn't deliver the mail, so I don't have the shirt, but I will be wearing it soon. It's a great looking shirt.
Somethingtowrestlemerch.com is where you can grab the block club tee. And if you're not fortunate enough to be one of the 17,138 and counting blocked by John, what about the new Wrestling God tee? And we've got the brand new Arrive Clothesline Leave tee. We've even got it as a hoodie now. Go grab it right now at somethingtowrestlemerch.com. John, we've got a fun episode today. We're going to be talking about when the WWF bought WCW, maybe, because before it actually happened in 2001, there was conversation about it in 2000. We'll talk about that today. We're also going to be talking about WrestleMania 10. We'll talk about what's happening with Hulk Hogan. We're going to touch on some Chris Jericho, and then we're going to break down your top 5 second generation talents. We want to hear from you right now. Let us know right now on YouTube at somethingtowrestle.com. Who are your top 5 second generation talents? Before we get into all that, talk about an anniversary. It was 25 years ago this week, John, that we got a payoff that was, well, maybe really more of a question. If you go back to November of 1999, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he's hurt. He's going to be on the shelf. He's got to have neck surgery. And the WWF is looking for their next big hit. Well, the hit is on Stone Cold in a parking lot. They hit that motherfucker with a car. And now it's a whodunit. So that was in November of 99. But 25 years ago this week, in October of 2000, we got our answer. And Tommy Blacha, who we talked about last week, he freestyled that there was a pitch that they could have like orange balloons come out of the trunk, and there could be like an orange glow, and it could be a reveal that perhaps it was Taz who would attack Stone Cold. And we know they didn't do that. And other people just assumed, well, maybe this is The Rock, and they'll blame The Rock for doing this, and he was the driver. Or maybe this is an excellent way to debut a new talent. So we had ourselves an old-fashioned whodunit, John. And I don't think any of us ever imagined that our beloved Rikishi, the owner and proprietor and master of the stink face, would say, I did it for The Rock. One of the more legendary promos, but maybe not for the best reasons. Fans did not like this. They hated it, John. We wanted to love Rikishi. We didn't want to hate Rikishi. And I know people have been critical of Rikishi's delivery, but I don't think that's necessarily fair. It was just, in my opinion, bad casting. With the benefit of hindsight, what do you think about that segment, John?
Yeah, you know, on paper, I think this worked. I think it worked really well. You want to turn a hot babyface heel. You want to turn a hot babyface heel. You don't want to turn a stagnant babyface heel. He's not over. You know, you want to turn a hot babyface heel, and Rikishi was a beloved character. This whole thing made perfect sense. Now, whether it worked or not, that's different. But on paper, this thing was a pretty good home run. You have a hot babyface, you're turning heel. You have a reason for him doing it. The thought behind it is pretty good. He's of the Samoan dynasty, the Polynesian dynasty, and he did it for The Rock. I mean, the whole thing to me made sense. The people not buying it, that's one thing that, you know, you can't control. You put it out there, you think this looks really good up on the blackboard, and sometimes you put it out there and it doesn't work.
Is it possible that we just didn't want to see Rikishi as a heel?
Could be, yeah.
As a sultan, I'm not saying he's not capable of portraying a heel character, and you know, it's not like all of his different iterations as a as a Samoan tag team wrestler, those were usually his heels as well. But Rikishi at this point was just like this beloved figure. It's hard for us to buy him as a heel, I think.
I think it was, and the one thing, the oldest thing in wrestling is turn your hot baby face that you don't think you can turn heel, turn him heel. And that's what we did with Rikishi. And Rikishi, by the way, great worker, one of the greatest of all time. Rikishi was a terrific worker. He was a great heel. He was a great baby face. And for some reason, this storyline, when it came through, people just didn't buy it like we thought they would. And it didn't get as over as we thought they would. And that has nothing to do with Rikishi, the talent of Rikishi. He was a great heel, great babyface. Everything he did, he was terrific at.
Do you think that another challenge may have been because he was perceived at the time as being more of an entertaining comedic performer, that maybe fans wouldn't take him seriously as a serious threat to a Stone Cold Steve Austin or a serious contender for the world title? Like, we all know that, I think Dusty Rhodes famously said that a wrestling show should be like the circus. You've got to have the lion tamers and the trapeze artists. And so it takes the entire roster to deliver a great wrestling show. But it does feel like we didn't want to see Rikishi, maybe not even as a heel, but maybe not even in really serious storylines. We want his segment to be fun.
Yeah, I agree with that. And they were a lot of fun. Everybody danced with Rikishi. Me and Ron did it one segment. I remember they thought it was a rib. They thought me and Ron wouldn't dance, and they ended up saying, "Guys, you got to quit. We got to go to commercial because we don't care. We're gonna have fun, especially out there with Rikishi and Too Cold, Too Hot, Hottie Too Scotty,
Too Cold.
Too Cold. Yeah. Brian and Scotty. We had a lot of fun with them. Everybody did. Everybody danced with these guys. Put on the glasses, and you became cool. Eddie did it. We did it. The Dudleys did it. Everybody did it. And people enjoyed Rikishi being out there because he got guys to be out of character. And he got guys to do things that were a lot of fun. He got guys to dance with the crowd. And, maybe people just didn't want that to be taken from them. Sometimes when you take it from them, that makes them a really hot heel. In Rikishi's case, I think they just loved him so much they just didn't want him to be that heel. They just wanted him to be with the same guys in the dancing troupe, getting guys out there out of character and dancing and having fun.
I do want to ask you about some of the crazy stunts, because in the Attitude Era, we saw lots of crazy stunts, but this one in particular, we saw a guy get hit by a car. Of course, we saw that a generation before with Eddie Gilbert and Jerry Lawler.
That was horrible, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was horrible. Oh my God. That was one of the worst run over scenes in the history of run over scenes.
We also tried things in this era in the WWE. I think just a few weeks after this, we've got Austin trying to drop Triple H from a crane like 30 feet or something crazy. Did you ever think that, like, I understand that wrestling creative is subjective. By the way, we've got some great photos of this over at somethingtowrestle.com. It's great memory joggers. Hope you'll go check us out. Hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. But do you think there was a line where it was too far? Do you remember there being a stunt that's like so far removed from pro wrestling where you took a look at it and you're like, boys, we may have jumped the shark. This might be a little too much, because we love to see you kicking ass in a bar, but that at least feels like wrestling. But we're hitting people with cars and we're using heavy machinery, and I don't know. Was there a moment in time in WWE creative you're like, okay, that may be enough for that for a while? Does that exist for you?
Yeah, I believe so. I tried to run over Cena with a car. I rammed the car into another car. I mean, it wouldn't have just killed him. It would have obliterated him if it actually hit him. And then the thing was, did I hit him or did I not? We had vehicular attempted manslaughter several times in WWE history. I think Big Show falling off the building in WCW, I thought that was one that went too far. I mean, at some point, it's just, I know he's a giant, but you fall off a building, then he's in the next segment. I get it. There's a suspension of belief, but they had Brian Pillman with a gun. I mean, I was there during that time. That was pretty rough when the fallout from that one. But I don't understand both sides of the argument here, Conrad. I understand you strain the credulity of the program, and I get all that. Believe me, a lot of this did. But then you have people say, well, it's a work, but you can't do that because that's too real. It's either work or it isn't. And so I don't mind them doing this. I mind when it doesn't make sense. You know, the Pillman and the gun thing. Did it make sense? Probably, yeah. And would it work with Brian? You know, Pillman was a great character, and so was Stone Cold. But all this attempted vehicular manslaughter, I mean, you know, somewhere somebody's got to get arrested for this. I don't like if it doesn't make sense, not how far you went with the stunts.
Well, we want to know from you guys, was there a stunt that went too far? You know, it did feel like it almost became repetitive. Like, we're going to hit Goldberg with a car. We're going to hit Steve Austin with a car. Basically, if you're bald and you got a goatee, we're going to hit that motherfucker with a guitar. I don't know. I mean, not with a guitar, but with a car, but with a guitar too.
The guitar, I think hurt worse. You know, I don't know which one I got. I think Jeff gave me the gimmick guitar. I think there were definitely two.
Oh, you think there's like a working guitar and a shoot guitar?
Oh, I know there was. Now I don't know 100% for sure. I cannot prove that, but we all figured that there was. So I would be willing to bet on it, and I'd give odds on it. Yes, I'm willing to bet that Jeff Jarrett had a working guitar and a shoot guitar, and he knew which one was which. And I think I got the working guitar. I'm pretty sure. So I want to thank Double J for that, because I always liked him.
You know what I just realized? You are the betting connoisseur. I mean, we should peel the curtain back. Before we went live here today to record today's episode, you admitted that you've actually started to bet on darts. Is that real?
I have 5 bets on darts today. So I had the over 3.5 180s, which means you got to hit the little dart in the little 20 thing, all 3 of them. That this would happen more than 3 times. Then I bet on just the winners of the darts thing. Anderson's the big favorite right now today. So yes, I actually got up and I thought, what can I bet on today? Darts was the only thing available in the UK. So I have 5 bets in 2 different sports books. So 10 bets total that I've got on darts right now that are happening right now. There is almost nothing I won't bet on.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, John. Are you a big dart guy? You got a lot of favorite UK dart players in mind?
No, I don't know. No, I'm not. No.
So can I make a recommendation?
Yes.
Why don't we go and bet some money where you have a little institutional knowledge? I'm talking about this weekend, WWE Crown Jewel. My bookie has your odds. Seth Rollins is favored at -300 to Cody Rhodes, who is currently at a +200. John Cena is at -1,000 over AJ Styles at +500. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky are favored at -500 over the Kabuki Warriors, who were +300. And at my bookie, you're not just betting winners, you're betting entrances, turns, shock wins, and you're getting paid when you read the story right. Go sign up right now with the code WRESTLE50 and we'll back your first deposit. How about that? $100 gets you $50 extra. $200 gets you a Benjamin. What you do with it is up to you. WWE Crown Jewel this weekend. Bet smart, cash in only at MyBookie. That you could do well at that now. I mean, I feel like you got the inside track. Not that you're talking to anybody, but you just been around enough to know you're probably more familiar with wrestling than you are darts.
You think? Yeah, absolutely. You know, we used to play darts at bars. We'd like try to hit the guy standing by the dart thing, you know, and try to stick the dart in them, you know, because they're all been drinking and everything. And it was fun. But no, I've never been on darts. I don't even know. I was actually going to try to find it on TV, but of course you can't find darts on TV. What the fuck am I thinking? I don't know. I'm surprised you can bet on it, but I did bet on it. I actually researched them. I actually researched like who's good at darts, who's good at matchups, head-to-head matchups and things like that. So I actually researched them and bet on them.
Hey, something that I would be betting on is you and I getting together this weekend, immediately following Crown Jewel. If you haven't already, make plans to join us. John and I are going to be live right here at Something to Wrestle. Be sure right now to hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell. Don't forget, Crown Jewel starts at 8 a.m. Eastern this weekend, I believe. And you'll be able to immediately after the show jump on YouTube and interact with John and I. We'll be live taking your questions, giving our opinions. What are you looking forward to most out of everything I just ran through this weekend at Crown Jewel, John?
You know, I've been very surprised. You know, I've never been to Saudi Arabia, And so that's one of my goals. And I've actually told them without actually, like it was kind of a weird thing during the day, because back in the day when they first started, they said, hey, we're not going to send you to Saudi Arabia, because we don't want to, we understand the travel, can be too much. We'll just, use somebody else for commentary and stuff, or whatever it was they were going to use me for. And I said, oh, thank you very much. Because if you ever get involved, you go all the time. And back then I was really getting tired of traveling, was kind of burnt out. I didn't really want to go. Well, now I deeply regret it that I've never been to Saudi, because I've been to all the countries around and I want to go to Saudi. I want to see like the old, all the old biblical sites and stuff, all the old historical sites. I think it's really cool to go to the kingdom and see all that stuff. So I've never been. So I don't know if this is my pitch or not, but I've actually kind of hinted a few times that, hey, if you ever need somebody in Saudi Arabia, I'm more than happy to go. So hopefully we'll go one of these days.
Well, how about that? Make plans to join John and I. You don't have to go anywhere except to YouTube, somethingtowrestle.com. John and I will be live immediately following Crown Jewel this weekend. John, let's talk about 25 years ago. This is October of 2000, and there's been lots of speculation that WCW may actually be going up for sale back then. Now, at first, there were TV business trades in the television business that were basically saying Mandalay Sports with Eric Bischoff and Jason Hervey, that is who's going to make a play to buy WCW. Meanwhile, Antonio Inoki was doing some media in Los Angeles, and he said, no, actually, it's the WWF who are the front runner to purchase this thing. And then there's actually reports from multi-channel news that came out 25 years ago this week that says that WCW is up for sale, and there are two potential bidders, WWE and Mandalay Sports Entertainment. Now, 2 days later, Mandalay Sports reveals, nope, not the case. They push out an official announcement on October 11th that says, while Mandalay Sports Entertainment enjoys an excellent working relationship with World Championship Wrestling and Eric Bischoff, we are not presently and never have been in discussions to acquire the organization. Now, of course, you're working with the WWE at the time, WWF. That's silly, but everybody knows what we're talking about. Did you think in the fall of 2000 that Vince was going to buy this thing? And were you concerned, or did you have ideas about how that may change wrestling in North America? Because I know that people who are fans who are listening to this are going to be like, oh, of course, John would be happy that they beat their competition and that his company won. But if you play that thought all the way out, it's like, why would, if you work with WWE, why would you be happy that you've just eliminated any leverage for your own personal income? What were your emotions in the fall of 2000? How do you remember feeling? And what was the general conversation among the boys at the time? Like, wait a minute, we might own the thing. Is that good for us? Is that bad for us? How were you processing that?
It was a catch-22 with all the boys. I think we all felt the same. I think we all did. I'm not sure. I can't speak for everybody, but the guys I talked to felt the same. We wanted to win, and we wanted to win because we wanted a job. It wasn't just like we want to beat WCW. We didn't care about what their initials were. We didn't care where they're from. We didn't care about their company. We needed a job. Now we were very loyal. Vince was very good to us, but we'd have gone to work for somebody else if we had to, but there was nowhere else to go if you take that competition out. So it was a real catch-22. I mean, first of all, the fact that we had a chance to buy them meant that we won the war. And that was very positive because we had bills to pay. And literally that's exactly what it was. That 83 weeks when we're getting our ass kicked by Eric and the boys down there, man, that was a really tough time. We don't know what's going to happen. If we go out of business, are they going to hire us? We don't know that. If we go out of business, are we going to hire them? We don't really know that either. We don't know how many of them we're going to hire. We don't know what's going to happen. What does that look like? We're running as two different companies. So guys were very excited about the fact that we won, and we're going to have, obviously we're going to have jobs for the foreseeable future, but then also you eliminate your competition, and everybody to a T thought, that's not necessarily a good idea when you eliminate your competition.
As the story goes, I think the reason Vince wasn't able to pull the trigger on acquiring WWE here in the fall of 2000 is, I guess, as the story goes, Viacom would not waive their exclusivity as far as the exclusive they had for WWF cable programming. So if you're going to have wrestling owned by WWE, on cable, it has to be with Viacom. Now that's Vince's own deal that he had worked out. So obviously that's going to be an issue if he acquires WCW and they have programming on TBS and TNT. To be clear, it's not that Vince wasn't interested in purchasing it, but once he gets the doggone thing, what is the real value of WCW? And it's the TV deal, the deal they had to air programming on TBS and TNT. That's how you would get the word out and grow revenues and advertisers and build an audience. But Vince himself had already put himself into an exclusive. The reason I'm bringing this up is because it feels like this was a teachable moment, not just for Vince, but for WWE. Because today, no one has an exclusive on WWE. Every major media company has a WWE contract. And I can't help but look back and think when I see this news, this is where that came from. This became a best practice and a teachable moment for Vince 25 years ago in this instance. Am I far off?
No, you're spot on, 100% correct, and that's a pretty good breakdown of what exactly it is. You look at what Vince did from the '80s on when he bought Joe Blanchard's USA Network for a variety of reasons, but he got that. Then he got WTBS, and did not have a ton of success. When I did with USA Network, start up Monday Night Raw. WTBS, they didn't like the product and ended up selling it back to Crockett. Made a little bit of money off of it, but that's not what he wanted. He wanted to keep the product. And then he has all these TV deals, and you're getting locked into stuff. You do things when you're in battle, like we were, for existence that you probably wouldn't normally do. And so you're willing to sign exclusives. You're willing to do things like this because you're just trying to stay alive. You're trying to keep the lights on. You're trying to pay the bills. You're trying to pay the boys, the girls. You're trying to figure out a way to stay alive against this other company that is beating you at this point. Once we got done with that, we realized that those deals that we made were not good deals, and they limited us. And I do believe that's exactly what happened. That's why you have deals now. WWE is insane, Conrad, to see what WWE is a huge product on every little and big different streaming network out there. It's insane what they've done. That Nick Khan is the freaking executive of the century.
Well, there's no doubt about that. We're certainly impressed with all the deals he's been able to string together. If you're curious, I think that as the story goes, later when Vince was doing like an XFL media event, he would tell Wade Keller that Viacom had greatly upped their price for buying out that exclusivity provision of their contract for the WWF cable package. So basically, Vince saw the opportunity here in the fall of 2000 to pull the trigger on acquiring WCW and was excited to have television contracts for both TBS and TNT, one for Nitro, one for Thunder. That would have been huge.
Yeah.
But he needed Viacom's approval, and he thought, okay, if it's not in the contract, maybe we can buy our way out of it. And as the story goes, according to this legend, Vince McMahon tells Wade Keller the price was too high. Did you ever hear a number? And I know that sounds silly, but with the benefit of hindsight, this could have been the most monumental change of the entire industry, right?
Could have been, yeah. Yeah, I didn't hear the number, but I did hear that exact thing that you're talking about, that the price was too high, which was crazy. The Viacom, they screwed up every single part of every bit of WCW. They had one of the most profitable companies in the.
When you're saying Viacom, you mean Turner?
Turner, yeah. When they're the most profitable companies that you could have in media and entertainment in 97, 98. And then all of a sudden they buy AOL, they start switching things up. They undermine Eric, and then they want to get rid of it. But instead of coming with a realistic price, they overprice it and don't come back with an alternative offer. And so they lose a ton of money on it. They lost money on every single thing they did. That was one of the most poorly run companies in the world. I mean, Ted Turner had to be beside himself to see what a mess these guys had of everything they did. I mean, that AOL merger in itself, possibly the worst merger in the history of business. And then what followed with it, it should be no surprise they screwed up everything. And this was another thing they screwed up. They could have sold it to Vince. They could have made some type of deal in 2000, and they wouldn't do it because they said, oh, they were just arbitrarily, he's the old wrestling guy. We'll just see if he'll pay for it. He's a lot of things. He ain't the old wrestling guy, and he ain't going to overpay for something.
It is interesting to think about because we know that Vince would ultimately buy the thing just 5 months later. But by that point, he's realized I can't get the television rights. So he's going to get the thing at a bargain basement price without TV. And we know a few months after that, that's when we see the invasion angle. That really gets kicked off like 4 months later. But to be fair, if he would have paid the price, whatever Viacom was asking, in theory, he would have been allowed to run his original vision for the invasion. He could have a Thunder, he could have a Nitro, and he could really finally deliver on this. I'm running 2 leagues and they're in competition. Like, we know that was the idea. I mean, we almost sort of joke about, sort of tongue in cheek, the brand split between Raw and SmackDown, but that was born out of the whole Monday Night War era. It certainly could have happened, but I can't help but wonder if we ever could learn that number, we could almost run the numbers in reverse and figure out, would it have changed wrestling? Because I think we all understand by 2002, wrestling's on the downhill slope. You know, we've seen the peak and we're on the way down, and it would continue for several years. But if he was able to work this deal out with Viacom and he could have kept TBS and TNT going, I think it changes the wrestling industry forever. I don't know that we see TNA. I don't know that we see AEW. And by the way, I'm a fan of both of those. I'm pulling for all wrestling. I just think it changes in a real material way if Vince is able to not only purchase WCW, but keep the television going, John.
Yeah, keep it going and keep those guys under contract.
Yes.
You know, he could have done that. I mean, if you could have had the NWO and had Bret Hart coming back, I know Bret was hurt during that time, but Bret Hart coming back after the screw job as part of WCW, and then had Hogan and all these guys coming back down with Stone Cold and The Rock. I mean, this thing is complete different dynamic. What we got was not WCW. We had some stars from WCW. We didn't have the NWO. We didn't have Eric Bischoff. We didn't have Hogan. You know, there were so many parts that were missing. If we'd have got that, and understand also, Vince is a guy who doesn't mind paying for stuff. And a lot of times people think Vince overpaid for things because Vince was never about cutting cost. Vince was always about increasing revenue. And that's a big difference when you talk about CEOs. A lot of CEOs, well, how are we going to get there with our profit figure? A lot of them say, well, we need to cut costs here, 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 here. Vince was never that guy. Vince was the guy that we're going to increase revenue. And whatever it costs to increase that revenue, Vince would do it. So if this price was too much, I'm willing to bet. I'd love to hear this price. It was completely out of the ballpark for Vince to turn it down because Vince doesn't mind reaching deep in his pockets to pay for stuff.
Man, what could have been? I can't help but wonder what could have been.
What it could have been. That would have been awesome. I mean, if you could have got Goldberg, the NWO, and Booker T and these guys that you got later with Eric Bischoff and Hogan and Bret Hart coming down there with The Rock and Stone Cold and DX. I mean, my God, man. NWO versus DX. They had it, 15 years after that? The place still went crazy. You know, you could have had that in the late 90s, 2000. Oh, my God, man. You talk about a home run. It changes the wrestling dynamic forever. Now, one thing that's bad about it is we never did good with an acquisition, not until the last couple of years. So the odds of us screwing up that acquisition are really high. And I think that led back to, which I've said many times, was Vince was so predispositioned to beat the competition that it's hard for him and his mindset to bring these guys and put them over a WWE product. And for very good reason, because, you know, not many years before that, there really was competition that could have put him out of business.
Hey, I do want to ask, you know, I mean, I know you were saying, hey, if you could have gotten all those talent, but I think the difference in Vince not wanting to pay for that talent versus wanting to pay was he's still trying to establish SmackDown as the second show, and respectfully, UPN, not necessarily the fame or luster that you have with TBS or TNT. And I know you could say, oh, it's in such and such homes, but it was certainly not viewed the same way and didn't have the actual penetration in a real, I mean, I didn't get it here in North Alabama. We didn't have access to UPN. We just didn't get it. But everybody had TBS and TNT. And so it does feel like if he's able to pull this deal off, man, how exciting could that be? Like, realistically, if he's got all the rosters and he keeps the sets, now you really, in a serious way, could play off of the Monday Night Wars finally for the first time. Seeing The Rock walk out on a Nitro set seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin walk out on a Nitro set, like imagine if you see those diamond plates and you hear Tony Schiavone and you hear Mike Tenay and you got the pyro going and welcome to the second hour of Nitro or whatever, and the glass breaks and down comes Stone Cold. Dude, that would have been bananas, right?
Yeah, and for the first time, you would see the NWO defending WCW.
Yes.
So you see Scott and Kevin and Hulk all defending with Eric WCW, the very company they invaded themselves not too many years before. I mean, the dynamics here are just outstanding. This will be the second time, by the way, that Vince had bought himself into WTBS and ended up on the TV show there. I think this time could have been really fantastic.
It's really exciting to think about what if, and I want to hear from you guys. How do you think this would have changed not only the Monday Night Wars and WWF, but just wrestling as a whole? If Vince got his hands on Nitro and Thunder and he owned WCW, Goldberg works for him, Hulk Hogan works for him, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Bret Hart, on and on and on. They're all here starting in October of 2000. That would have been almost 6 months ahead of WrestleMania 17, our beloved, most ideal, most iconic WrestleMania of all time with Rock and Austin in the main event. The only way it would have been bigger would have been if WCW was somehow involved too. It would have been bananas, right?
It would have been huge. You talk about an invasion angle that people would have died for. I mean, they'd be talking about this for the next 50 to 100 years. I mean, this thing would, I think it'd blow away the NWO angle. I think it'd be that big because now the NWO is defending against DX. I mean, this Stone Cold is now invading WCW, being stopped by Booker T, being stopped by Hulk Hogan, being stopped by Bischoff, being stopped by Goldberg. I mean, all of a sudden, a Goldberg and Stone Cold in 2000, those guys end up face to face.
Undertaker and Sting. Come on.
Oh my God.
And think about this, like the whole what if of, hey, if DX pulls up to Nitro on a tank, let them. You can actually do it now. You can pay it off. They can roll in the back in a Jeep, and we got a whole scene. Like it was all right there. And here's another thing, since we're getting down the rabbit hole. If we're able to do that with WCW, we'd also be able to do that for ECW. Because if he could have purchased ECW and kept their television deal, and I know they didn't have a TV deal at the time, but Vince could have got him one. He's Vince McMahon. He's got all the success in the world. Some of these second tier networks, they jump at the chance to have cameo appearances from some of those stars. But if he could have written a check to Viacom that would allowed him to pull the trigger on WCW in October of 2000, then, by January of 01, when ECW files bankruptcy, he just would have bought that too and stuck that on a show. But now all of a sudden he owns the whole thing. You could keep running ECW with Paul Heyman booking if you wanted and have somebody surprise. Imagine if the Outsiders walked into the ECW arena. Imagine the heat that Jeff Jarrett would have gotten walking into the ECW arena. It would have been hilarious, right? This would have been so fun.
It would have been awesome. And, ECW was just too early. If they'd have been here when the internet was here and the internet was in proliferation like it is now, those guys would have made a fortune. And they had a great product, terrific product, great talent, did great stuff. It was just too wild to be on cable television, and plus they were pinching, songs that they probably shouldn't have pinched. I'm talking about, songs they use for entrances and stuff. They could have changed all that. But if they had been there for the internet, when you could put them on a streaming device and not have content issues with the product, those guys would have made a fortune. I mean, an absolute fortune globally. Talk about the touring they could do. Talk about the views that they would have globally on pay-per-views. It would have been absolutely amazing.
It's what if, man. What if Vince had written the check to Viacom? I get asked that all the time, John. Hey, if you could do an interview with Vince McMahon, would you? And of course, the answer is hell yeah, of course I would. Are you kidding? I want to pick that guy's brain. But then it's like, okay, what would you want to talk about? And I've always had a list of topics. Probably number one at the top of them. Tell me how you had to get creative to finance the first WrestleMania. Because
I want to know that. I want to know that so bad. Because I've heard both sides. I've heard the side that he had the money.
Yeah.
And I've also heard the side that he borrowed money from here and borrowed money off that borrowed money. I've heard that too, which I think is freaking awesome if that's what happened. I love both of them.
Did you see the guy who owns Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships? I forget his name off the top of my head. David something or other. Nice guy. I had one call with him once years ago. But did you see his interview on Ariel Helwani last week?
No.
Well, he's talking about, he's all in on this. And if you've never seen Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, I recommend it. Go check it out. But he's interviewing with Ariel Helwani, and it comes out that when they revealed that they had Conor McGregor, they were bringing him on as an owner, and he had taken a minority interest or whatever the deal split is. But obviously, just having a guy with that sort of cachet in the sports entertainment or just fighting market, like Conor McGregor attached to your brand, is a big deal.
Yeah.
So David admitted, hey, I didn't have the money until 3 days after the event. I was doing a refinance on my primary residence, my home, the house I live in. And I wouldn't get the cash to pay for the event that I was holding until 3 days after the event. So he held the event, put on a brave face, does not have the money, knows it'll be here in 3 days. But where's that money coming from? Not his other businesses, not an investment, the equity in his house. That's as all in as it gets. And when I heard that, I was like, he's going to make it. He's
oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those guys. I'd bet on those guys every day of the week. 4 times on Sunday. I love guys like that. Those are the type of guys that have made America, that make the country, that make capitalism. I remember when I had a business I was starting up, and Vince couldn't make it to the party that I was having to launch it. And he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm sorry I can't make it. I had some business or something." And I kind of didn't expect him to, but as a gesture of being nice, I was sending him an invitation. And he said, if you don't make it, he goes, you will make it. He said, the world's built on entrepreneurs. But the way he said that, after now kind of researching his past, like I've done over the last 20 years, and find out so much more about him, I understand where he's coming from. Vince failed, and all of a sudden Vince makes it massive. But guys like that who are willing to mortgage the house, I love those guys.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, what you fans think of this, because I've had a lot of fun with this hypothetical idea. What if Vince gets the money together and he writes a check to Viacom, and now he owns WCW, and Nitro's still on Mondays and Thunder still on Thursday? And maybe since he's already got the proof of concept, let's buy ECW, just buy them out of bankruptcy, go land them a TV deal, and just keep them all going. I think it changes wrestling forever in a variety of ways. I'm not saying that it would have been better, but it would have been different.
Oh, it would have been different. There's no doubt about it. And all these people that, went and started up companies would have filtered their way to there. Now, you'd still have some people on the outside that would want to start up, companies outside in competition. But for the most part, these people that had gone to different companies and had filtered to different places looking for opportunities, they'd find them. They'd have found them. So you'd have locked up a lot of the great talent, which, when you're locking up great talent, you're locking up creative talent. You're locking up camera guys. You're locking up prop guys. You're locking up all kinds of talent that goes with it. It's one good thing about NXT is they're not just training talent. They're training everybody to do everything that's behind the scenes, because there's a finite amount of that. That was the key we had during the Monday Night Wars. Their cameramen would also do NBA, and that might be their main job. Our camera guys who are still there to this day, wonderful guys, that was their main job, was wrestling. Now they might do NBA on the side, but it worked the other way. The priority was WWE first. And so you would have had a drain, brain drain, as they call it, going toward these 3 products. And it would have limited anything like TNA or AEW from happening.
Well, it's fun to think about what if. We want to hear from you. What would that have changed? What do you think would have changed if Vince still had Nitro, Vince still had Thunder, he's got the full roster from WCW? Maybe we don't get WrestleMania 17 the way we like it. But what does it look like this way? It's interesting. Something you don't have to wonder about, though, is, hey, I wonder if my advanced age right now, if I could get my ding dong as hard as I could when I was 17. Well, John can do it, and so can you, thanks to our friends at Blue Chew. Guys, it's time to enter the room. Dig first. Blue Chew is not just a tablet. It's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting. Like somebody gave your downstairs a pep talk in a gym membership. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. I carry my Encyclopedia Britannica everywhere. Guys, we're not just talking about performance. We're talking about your legacy, or maybe we'll call it your third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Discover your options right now at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free Just use the promo code WRESTLE at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head on over to bluechew.com for details and important safety information. And a big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. And John's Wiener. Also want to give a shout out to a special top guy who's celebrating a bit of an anniversary with us, Doug Ritter. He's been with us since March of 2020 over at adfreeshows.com. Steve Frost, he's been with us since May of 2020. Greatly appreciate you guys hanging with us for more than 5 years. And I think just last week, David Castle just recently signed up at adfreeshows.com. We've got a live studio audience today. And when you join the Ad Free Shows family, you too can join us for these live tapings. Shout out to Maddie and Denovia Mac. And I know Coach Keith's with us and Coach Rosie's with us. You should be too. We've got over 100,000 hours of bonus content, plus all the live StarCast stage shows, live interactive Q&As and watch-alongs. And behind the paywall, man, it's a who's who. Lex Luger, Godfather, David Crockett, Mike Chiodo, Tully Blanchard, the Blue Meanie, Downtown Bruno. Plus you get bonus content from Eric Bischoff, Jim Ross, and Tony Schiavone, and Jeff Jarrett, and JBL. What are you waiting for? Go join us right now at adfreeshows.com. Hey, so I want to talk a little bit about something I saw on Facebook. Are you a big Facebooker, John?
I'm on Facebook. I don't really do that much with it. You know, like a lot of people now, it knows my algorithms of what I like. And so like, you know, it's, however it works, it like puts up tons of videos that I like. So I get stuck on there sometime watching videos, but I don't just like scroll through Facebook for pictures and stuff, but I do get stuck on there watching videos sometimes.
I want to give a little shout out to Steve Stasiak of Book Pro Wrestlers over on Facebook. And he recently cited the collection of Joseph Bruin and the Promo Photo Mania Facebook group. So if you're a Facebooker and you're a big wrestling collector, this was put on my radar earlier this year, and I'm blown away by some of the old school finds that they have. It's almost like, you know, they've discovered the same sort of treasure trove that Mr. Briscoe has found behind his house, in his shed treasures, I guess we'll call it. But the Promo Photo Mania Facebook group has found some really cool stuff, including a WrestleMania 10 packet that was given to WWF personnel. This is kind of cool to take a look back and see the way wrestling was in 1994. That's almost, I can't believe it now. We're nearly 32 years ago. But more and more, we see former WWF and WCW personnel selling off some of their personal collections. I mean, and take a look at what we're looking at right there. You're looking at a match layout for WrestleMania 10. And you see the times and who's over, and you got the circles. And look, there's our buddy Double J. He had his match scratched. Like, just to see this, I know to a lot of people, it's like, yeah, we know that happened. It was all on the network. You can go watch it now. But like these details here for the camera locations, how cool is this, man? Like, I don't know why we as wrestling fans have this insatiable thirst for these little nuggets of information, but like this really is the business of the professional wrestling business. This is the way it looks. Take a look at that. This is the layout for Madison Square Garden backstage. You see the team lounge and it's highlighted, but it says up there, Vince's. Right across from her, Rhonda Shear, Little Richard across the hall. How about Donnie Wahlberg had his own dressing room? There's Jenny Garth. There's Burt Reynolds. And they've got one marked out for the announcers, another for the ladies. I know, you know, to you, John, this is no big deal. This was just a regular part of life forever and ever, you know, as you're traveling the roads with WWE. But for a lot of people who are just fans, they've never seen seat maps like we're looking at here for Madison Square Garden. This is a really cool find. This is cool stuff, is it not, John?
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, and now they're doing a lot of this stuff with AI. They're doing a lot of this stuff with dynamic, you know, seating, dynamic pricing. You know, this was all done just by guys with pencils and paper and pretty sharp guys. It was one of the advantages that Vince had. But it's cool to see the Garden. You know, I recognize, you know, where the dressing rooms were, where we were all the time. I was always in a certain one dressing room, the first one there right before the entrance going out. And I remember one time some guy had thrown a beer on me or something leaving. And I went out and he was standing. He was there and he had shoes with laces. And so I sat there and I went underneath the bleachers, and I got his shoes and I tied them to the bleacher like that. And then I went out and I said, "Hey, you want something with me?" The guy goes to get up and he's caught me falling down, takes a bump. I was really proud of myself for doing that.
So, well, let's take a look at that packet again. John, do you remember? I mean, I know you didn't show up for a couple more years, but do you remember getting packets like this as a performer? Like, would they give you something that had like, all right, here's your WrestleMania folder and it's got your hotel information or the building information? I know later they just started doing all of this with emails and digitally, but way back when, did they hand you like a folder like this or something?
Yeah, but a couple things were different. We didn't have backstage maps. We didn't have seating maps. We didn't have any of that. We didn't have the rundown of the card. We didn't have that backstage map. And I don't know if they did that for safety reasons or security reasons or what, but I never, not one time saw one of those printed backstage. You know, you'd have signs everywhere. You'd have signs directly for where talent is, where production office is, where talent relations is, where Vince is. You'd have signs everywhere that are very clear and very easy to use, but we didn't have something that had a map outlay of it. We also didn't have the card like that. We didn't have the seating map either. It was mainly just things like hotel, talent relations numbers, things like that we need.
Looking at this page we're on right now, you know, you see little handwritten notes here. It says, no announce without cue. Can you see what that says? Hand, or what does that look like to you? And it says, do not, no matter what, no announce till music, parentheses, King. That makes me think that's for Jerry the King Lawler, but do not, no matter what. Any idea? I know this isn't your handwriting, but any idea what that could mean?
That has to be for the production crew. About what they, obviously Vince doesn't want something done there and he wants it done at a certain time. So I think that's just a note for a production crew. Looks like somebody was, and I don't know for sure, looks like somebody was taking a note during a meeting.
I want to ask here, when you see like the item numbers, if we go back one slide, you'll see on the far left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are clearly matches, but then there's a column and you see it says item, and it says 340. So that makes me think, okay, that's going to be the dark match of 340. And I guess Bushwhackers and Heavenly Bodies went 802. They scratched Cornette. But in match 1, you see the match goes 23-21 with Owen and Brett. Got that. But then it says 13 in parentheses. John, any idea what 13 means there? Match 2 says 22. Match 3 says 32. What are those numbers referencing? Do you know?
No, I don't. I don't know if that's I would think that'd be total time allowed, but it doesn't match up to the times that were done. Right. So I mean, I can see having a 22-minute time allowed. And then you have, all kinds of, because of Doink and Dink, all types of video packages and stuff to fill in that extra time, but it doesn't make sense with the Brett match. So I don't know what those numbers would be.
Now, we also see on here that it does have referee assignments and agent assignments. My understanding is the talent, as you said, didn't necessarily get one of these, but it would be on a board backstage. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%.
So we believe that what we're looking at here is probably from the collection of someone who worked on the production side of things, not necessarily someone who was in front of the camera, correct?
Correct. Yeah, this is a production sheet. This is not something I don't think that would go necessarily to talent, because talent doesn't need to see this. Talent doesn't need to see a lot of this. So this is something that would go to a production talent that would be part of the show, the manufacturing, the nuts and bolts of the show.
I do want to ask a little bit about how the pairings are with regard to referees and agents. Like in match 1 from the pay-per-view, it was Brett and Owen. Probably no surprise. Pat Patterson is the agent and the referee is Earl Hebner. Is that because Pat really liked working with Brett, or is it because Brett really liked working with Pat and Earl? Combination of that? Does Brett have enough quote unquote stroke to make that so, or how is that assigned as best you can recall?
Brett certainly had enough stroke to make that so. There's no doubt about that. Just as Cena did, or any top guy had the ability to. Owen would too if he wanted to request one. Vince would certainly put guys with people they want to work with rather than guys they had a problem with. But it goes down to Vince. Vince is the one that wants this agent with this person. You have Pat Patterson there. That's very important, just like Jack Lanza. I mean, that's a big deal. That Vince puts those guys with specific guys that he wants to be taken care of.
Were there other, like, as we look at the other different slides, I mean, you see the different names of agents and referees. Were there certain ones that worked well together? Like you see, you know, the different agents are like Tony Gurria and Chief Jay Strongbow and Jack Lanza. Were there certain talent, or I know that there's allegiances with agents and talents, but did agents have favorite referees, or is that not necessarily the case?
No, 100% true. You know, the Hebners traveled with Lanza.
Okay.
Dave and Earl both traveled with him. They're with him all the time. You know, Lanza and Gurria traveled together, and so the Hebners were obviously good friends with Gurria too. So they were very good friends. So that was a main reason. You know, Jack wanted to work with people that he liked. He always wanted to work with people that are very competent. But Jack wouldn't work with guys he didn't like. He had a bit of an issue with Vader at one point, and Jack just didn't want to work with him. You know, he's, for whatever reason, they you know, like that, and Jack didn't want to work with him, and so he didn't.
Man, super cool to see this. I want to ask you one last question about this format. The camera positions are listed. I know that you said that you guys wouldn't normally be given access to all the other stuff. I don't think necessarily that you would know necessarily where all of these are, but I know as time went on and production got more advanced, this did become more and more of a priority. I mean, we've always heard that wrestlers who were coming from WCW or other organizations had to learn the quote unquote WWE way. And by and large, a lot of that meant best practices with regards to production. You know, I always want to be facing the hard cam, work three sides of the ring, that sort of thing. Do you remember when you were an active in-ring wrestler, not doing commentary and more on the production side, but when you were wrestling, were there discussions beyond just the hard cam piece of business? Did you need to know where all these other cameras are?
No. And it was specifically on orders from Vince. That's changed over the last 30 years completely. Okay. Vince would tell you when you came in, don't find the camera will find you. And that's huge. That's a complete change from what they do now. Nowadays, you're finding the camera. But Vince would tell you when you come in, don't worry about the camera. You know, in case you were in the territories and you'd worked, you know, always worked to the camera, always made sure you talked to the camera. Vince hated that, hated you talking to the camera. But Vince did not want you to work to the camera, except for the hard cam, of course. You got to have the hard cam the right way. You want your finish done the right way, set up for the hard cam. But as far as the cameras that are on the floor, absolutely not. Vince specifically would give you instructions. The camera will find you. And that's completely different, 180-degree different from what they do today.
I do want to ask, you know, when you're thinking back to your time in the ring, did you have relationships with the camera guys? Like in my head, it feels like as a wrestler, you really want to buddy up with the camera guy because if he's got any ideas, you want him to bring those ideas to you, right? Am I ever thinking that?
Yeah, and they can make you look bad if they want to.
Yes.
Yeah, and they got egos too, by the way. You know, they're just like us. They got egos too. Those are good dudes, man. They love the camera guys. A bunch of Marty and the guys came to Bermuda when I was there running and helped me put on an event there for charity. Good dudes, man. I've known those guys for 30 something years from Stu and Marty and every single Rambo, every single one of them. Know them all by name. I see them all on flights and I talk to them all, know about their families, where they're from. They're just good dudes, man. And then they're part of the family. Just as much or more so than me or anybody else because they're every single week. You know, me and Michael Cole used to always laugh. Me, him, and Kevin are the only ones. Kevin Dunn are the only ones that watch all the matches. and the camera guys are also in that. You know, they sit there and watch all the matches. They watch a lot of wrestling. They've seen more wrestling than anybody else in history the last 30, 40 years because they film every single match. But yeah, it was important to know those guys. For one, they're good guys. But two, as a business gesture, you want to be friendly with those guys because they'll give you great advice. You know, they're out there every single day filming stuff. They have great knowledge about what works and what doesn't. And a lot of times you can go talk to them and say what works and what doesn't. They can tell you right now. They don't have to put the camera up on their shoulder. They can tell you right now what works and what doesn't. They're an invaluable resource for guys.
Another invaluable resource for guys is our friends at Mando. Listen, here's the deal, man. Fall's here. Football season's here. More yard work. We got to be cleaning up those leaves. Maybe take a few hunting trips. But let's be honest, staying fresh can be a challenge, and that's why I'm proud to tell you about Mando deodorant. From your pits to, well, everywhere else, Mando high performance odor control and sweat control actually lasts all day. So forget those colognes that just mask the stink. Mando actually blocks the odor before it even starts. It's one stick that does two jobs. That's coverage through double overtime games, that weekend project, and even those extra long pre-holiday shifts. You're good. It's not magic. It's science. I absolutely love the brand new clinical strength sweat control for Mando. You should too. It's one swipe and you're good to go. It controls both sweat and odor for 72 hours. And after just 12 hours, underarm sweat was reduced by 92%. Yeah, Mando's deodorant that was re-engineered to stop odor before it starts. They use premium ingredients too, like gentle mandelic acid to keep you fresh and dry all day. And you see, Mando is not going to just mask the odor. It prevents it. In fact, 100% of the study participants experienced what they called all-day odor protection. You too can have that double protection. Fresh day or all-day freshness and all-day dryness. It's hard to beat with Mando. Right now, Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. You'll get that solid stick deodorant. You'll get cream tube deodorant. You get 2 free products of your choice. I recommend the mini body wash or the deodorant wipes. You even get free shipping. And right now is a special offer for our listeners. New customers can get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. The code is STW at shopmando.com. And they get you 20% off plus free shipping. That's shopmando.com, SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time to count down the top 5. Brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Pretty excited about this week's top 5, John. We're talking about the top 5 second generation talents. Are you doing a Booker T 5 times?
5 times.
I love it.
Yeah.
But you're also waving it like you can't see them, but you can see them.
I can't see him, but it's 5 times. It's
Okay.
like a scene of Booker T.
Well, this is going to be fun, man.
It's a C book.
Last call in the comments right now. Who do you think are in John's top 5? And then we want to hear from you as well. Who are in your top 5? We're talking all-time second generation talent. And boy, that's such a long list when you really think about it.
Wow.
This is going to be one of our more hotly debated ones, I think, John. Let's just start right now. I can't wait to hear JBL's top 5 second generation talents, number 5. And here we go, John. This is such a this is going to be easily our most debated top 5, I think, because the list of second generation talents goes on a mile long. But John, coming in at number 5, you put down Charlotte Flair. How does Charlotte Flair wind up number 5 on your list, John?
Because I think she's deserving. I think she's one of the greatest talents of all time. Forget about female or male. She's one of the greatest talents of all time. Then if you break it down further, one of the greatest female talents, certainly. And I think it's as deserving as what she's done. She has been the cornerstone of the women's division. She has been an absolute solid rock. I mean, when you need a performer, you bring in Charlotte Flair. And when you have a little downtime, you bring in Charlotte Flair. I saw her, by the way, this past week, and there was a picture out with me and Ron and Jimmy Hart and Mr. Iguana. We were out in Beverly Hills, at a little party, and Charlotte was there. I didn't get a picture with Charlotte because, I don't know, maybe she doesn't like me. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But she wasn't there for the picture, but she was there, but not the picture group. But it was good to see Charlotte.
This is going to be a controversial pick because there's a lot of other male performers, I feel like, that people in the comments are going to say, hey, what about? Hey, what about? Hey, what about? Did you think it was important to add a woman? Or do you think that, okay.
Yes, I did. I thought specifically it was important to add a woman somewhere, and not just a 5, like a token number 5 spot. She could fit anywhere in there in the top 5. All these people could be pretty much interchangeable. In my opinion, but I think she's that important. I mean, you look at the foundations of the entire women's division. Obviously Trish and Lita, that first Raw match, that doesn't work well. It's set back for years, maybe a decade or more, the women's division getting started. But you need somebody to be that cornerstone. Charlotte Flair has been that. So a lot of this women's division, besides the fact that she's a huge star now, was built off of her. And because of that, the importance of her to the wrestling business is immense, absolutely huge, much bigger than just a person who's headlined a bunch of WrestleManias, because she was one of the foundations that the entire women's division was built on. So if people have a problem with it, that's your opinion. But my opinion is she certainly belongs in the top 5 and anywhere in the top 5.
It does feel like fans have started to warm up to her a little bit. I don't know if you saw, but earlier this year, she wrote an incredible article and really pulled the curtain back and shared that she had probably spent too much time developing Charlotte Flair and hadn't been paying Ashley Flair enough attention. And I think as a result, fans came out and warmed up to her and started supporting her a little bit. We've always loved her work as a heel, but I think fans are, they're buying into her with I don't know, Bruce would call it a fresh coat of paint, but it's kind of interesting because it's not really character work. She was her authentic self. And I think maybe for the first time, Charlotte, AKA Ashley, was relatable.
Yeah. And that's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to do. Do you undermine your own character by doing that? Or do you make your character better? And that's a real catch-22 that you can have when you do something like that and open up yourself. I remember when the Undertaker did the speech at the Hall of Fame, and I told him afterwards, I said, brother, what a risk you just took. And he said, you're the only one that came up to me and said that. He goes, yes, because if he gets out there and he's out of character and it's not working, he's got an hour left out there and it's not working. I mean, that was brave what he did. He's a very smart guy. He's very good at what he does. What a freaking home run he hit. But it's the same when you start doing stuff on social media and you come out of character. It's either going to work and people are going to go, okay, I relate to this person more over than ever before, or oh, just stop it. I'm interested in your character. It's a real tough thing to do. And Charlotte did a great job with it.
Coming in at JBL's number 4 on his list of the top 5 second generation talents. You broke the rules and he did a tie. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. If Hurricane was here, he might say, what's up with that?
The hell with Hurricane. I like Hurricane. He's fun. I love following him on social media because they're not finished with their career yet. So I can't put them out there separately. I'm sorry. I think both have been the absolute foundations of the most profitable part of WWE in history. And because of that, they both belong in the top 5. Now, because they're not finished with their career, I'm not going to put them in there as solos. I'm going to put them in there together. And it's also the chicken shit way to do it and get both of them in there. So that's what I'm doing. I'm being the chicken shit and putting them both in there together.
Well, at least you said it. Listen, who could argue Roman and Cody? All their success, all their WrestleMania headlines, all the financial success. But I get it. They're still active. A tie is fine. Let's go on to number 3 in John's top 5 second generation talents in wrestling. This is an interesting one. Bret the Hitman Hart. I'll admit, I know he's a second generation wrestler, but I don't know that I would have immediately thought of him. Great call by you. He's on a lot of people's Mount Rushmore. Why is he number 3 on your top 5 second generation?
Because I'm not sure where to put him, in the top 3. He belongs in the top 3, belongs in the top 4, and I'm not sure where to put him. It's kind of like a Mount Rushmore. You're like, well, which one is which? Because you're talking about great or greater. You're not talking about, hey, is he better than what's coming up in 1 and 2? That doesn't mean he sucks. Then it means he's great. One's just I consider greater. I didn't know where to put him, so I put him 3. He could have easily gone first or second. Obviously, a terrific second-generation wrestler. Bret was everything in the early 90s. He was the guy that had to carry the mantle when Hogan's run had ended and Ultimate Warrior had fizzled out. And Bret was the guy that carried all that. And if Bret doesn't get hurt by Goldberg, he would have had a hell of a run. I wish, in hindsight, I wish he could have gone straight from Montreal to Monday Night Nitro the next night. I wish that was what they could have done, because that would have been fantastic for them. Bad for us, but fantastic for them. Great for Bret. But if Bret doesn't get hurt, Bret's going to have an unbelievable run. in WCW as well. And maybe he comes back even and finishes up in WWE. But one of the greatest of all time, despite second generation, add that to it, put that caveat on it. My opinion, he belongs in the top 5.
Do you think that Bret had a more timeless style than a lot of other wrestlers? Because I'm wondering, why do you think the love for Bret is so persistent? Because it does feel like you could enjoy his stuff back then, you can enjoy his stuff now. Like sometimes you watch a movie or you hear a song or you remember something fondly, and then you go back and you revisit it. Maybe this is mostly with wrestling and television and movies, but maybe upon the second viewing years later, you're like, doesn't hold up as well. Nobody's ever said that about a Bret Hart match.
Absolutely not. He was a great worker. I mean, just a fantastic worker, and he could work with anybody. You know, there's a video out there of him doing the bushwhacker thing, you know, going around, you know, just acting the part of a clown and having fun. You know, he could do anything. He's this great champion, and he's just doing something entertaining with some good friends with the bushwhackers. Then he also goes out there and helps make Stone Cold. You know, Steve was, you know, as I've always said, the guy who transcends the genre has to walk through hell. You have to have one match that people look at and go, okay, that's a guy I can get behind. Whether he's a heel or a babyface, they got to have that one match out there that you now know, okay, this is a tough guy. This is a guy that I can believe in. And he did that for Steve. You know, Bret was the guy. He just had great match after great match, banger after banger, as they say. And he could do it with anybody. Him and Undertaker, my God, man, those guys could light up a ring. It was fun to watch Bret. You wish he hadn't got hurt, because Bret could have done so much more in this business.
Is it true that you never, I think there was one battle royal I could find over in Saudi Arabia in December of 96, where you were in the same ring as Bret at the same time. It was a battle royal on a house show. Did you never have any singles matches with Bret at all?
I don't think so. I don't think I ever had one. I had, you know, one with Sean early. Obviously, I had the run with him late. But no, I never had. You know, Bret was always in a different spot. You know, I was opening match and Bret was last match. And, you know, Bret was always got there late. So I don't even know if I even saw any of my matches. You know, Bret was always late. He was pulling up in the rental car, flying up, you know, always late. Nobody cared, because it was, you know, those guys worked their ass off in the main event. Nobody cared, but Bret was always late. And no, I never got to be in the ring with him. I wish I would have. I think except for that one battle royal, but I wish I would have. He was such a good worker. I worked with Owen a lot, worked with Davey a lot, but never got to work with Bret.
Just as a personal enjoyment, I'm talking about where you would have had the most fun. Would you have wanted to, you know, maybe him and Anvil in their peak against you and Ron in the APA, him and Anvil in their peak against you and Barry with the new Blackjacks, you and as a single as Justin Hawk Bradshaw against Bret, or later the John Bradshaw, Layfield, Rich, J.R. Ewing asshole character versus the Hitman? Which one of those would have been most interesting to you?
I think second would be me and Ron versus him and Anvil, because I loved Anvil. You know, really good guy. We were good friends. That'd be a lot of fun. I worked a lot with Anvil. That'd be a ton of fun. But the JBL character against this tough working guy from Canada, man, that's a wrestling match made in heaven, man. That would have been so much fun to have a long program with Bret. He was such a good worker. You know, all you got to do is keep up with him. You know, it's going to be good. And man, that would have been fun to be JBL versus Bret. The stuff I could have done against Canada would be like Eddie in Mexico. It'd have been so much fun.
I know that you weren't there at the time, but if we had a time machine and you're thinking about Bret's run as WWF champion, and I'm specifically, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I'm thinking about 1995. When they bring out the In Your House concept, and we're going to be doing pay-per-views every month, it did feel like, hey, we need a fresh crop of opponents for Bret. And there for a while, we had an evil dentist, we had a pirate. I mean, we had some, these are great guys, but some of the creative, it was a little less than. If you had that J.R. Ewing type character in 1995, when it was closer to Dallas, it was closer to that hit TV show, and I know you yourself hadn't developed into the performer you could become, but if we could just take a time machine and we take the JBL asshole character at its peak and we drop it in a 1995 WWF with Bret as the champion, I think it's like the $1 Million Man on steroids, and he would have been a perfect foil for you.
100%. It would have not been the real cutting edge, anti-immigration. Of course, I wouldn't have had the Eddie to go against, so it wouldn't have been a need for that. It would have been anti-Canada, though.
Yes, absolutely.
And talk about fun, because they were already doing the Canada versus USA angle storylines. I mean, that would have been a blast. But yes, I think it'd have been Ted DiBiase on steroids. I've said all along that the JBL character was just Vince. If he could have been in the ring, that's what he would have done. And I think Vince would have had a ball with that character. That's the reason I think the character works so well, is because Vince took such a special interest in that character. But to have that in the 90s during that time, that would have been a heck of a run.
Maybe we've just stumbled onto like one of the secret sauces of a successful wrestling character. They've got to be able to work in any era, because I think you could take that era Brett and drop him off anywhere.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could drop that era JBL and drop him off anywhere. Like, he's the rich asshole. Everybody, that character is like a classic in a movie. Like, that character exists in Landman and in Succession, and that character exists in every docudrama that's out there. Every sort of dramatic performance that you see that involves any sort of finance or capitalism or whatever, the JBL character's there in some form, right?
It's Mr. Potter.
Yes.
It's a Wonderful Life. Yes, the character has always been around. There's always been that rich guy. They've always hated the rich guy. You go back to the vaudeville days, you go back as far as entertainment goes. There's always a rich guy that people hate. That's such an asshole. And so, yeah, you could drop that JBL character anywhere in the history of wrestling and have some fun with it.
Well, we're going to get to the top two, but before we do, we got to tell you about Quince. I got to tell you, as the weather's cooling, a lot of people are already starting to swap pieces. And if you're looking for some timeless looks like Bret Hart or JBL, but you need something warm and durable and built to last, well, Quince delivers every time with wardrobe staples that'll carry you through the season. Quince has the kind of fall staples that you'll actually want to wear on repeat. You're one of us, man. You get something comfortable, you want to wear it all the time. I know how you are. We're all like that. Well, here's something you can't beat. 100% Mongolian cashmere from just $60. You hear me? Yeah, $60 for Mongolian cashmere. Sign me up. They've also got classic fit denim. You got real leather. You got wool outerwear. It's going to look sharp and it's going to hold up. We're talking timeless looks. My buddy's got their eye on that suede trucker jacket. It's perfect for layering. It looks really cool casual. It looks really cool put together. You can look sharp at the office. You can look sharp on dates. Maybe you've got these big holidays coming in. Man, you want to look as good as you can. Quince helps you do that. By partnering directly with ethical factories and top artisans, Quince cuts out the middleman to deliver you premium quality at half the price of similar brands. And I'm talking to you, we're not too far from the holiday season. You got somebody in your life that's hard to buy for. And there's some of these people that you're going to be attending events with. Maybe it's your family's Thanksgiving. Maybe it's your wife's family's Thanksgiving. But I need to look sharp. I got to prove a point on this one. Whatever it may be, Quince is going to help you out. They're going to layer you up this fall with pieces that feel as good as they look. Go right now to quince.com/wrestle for free shipping on your order. They even give you 365-day returns. Can't beat that. Now available in Canada too, so Bret Hart would be proud. That's quince.com/wrestle. Let me spell it for you. QUINCE.com/wrestle. That's QUINCE.com/wrestle. Get yourself some free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/wrestle. And we are coming back to number 2 here on JBL's list of top 5 second generation talent. Charlotte Flair was number 5. Cody and Roman were tied at 4. Bret Hart was number 3. And maybe no surprise because it's you, Eddie Guerrero comes in at number 2. And I know that, you've got a soft spot for Eddie, as you should. Why is he number 2?
Because he was my friend. But no, I think Eddie's one of the greatest performers of all time. And a lot of people say, I hate when they pigeonhole people, like say he's the greatest Latino performer of all time. And they mean well by saying that, but they kind of pigeonhole him. He's just one of the greatest performers of all time. I mean, there was nothing like Eddie Guerrero. I mean, it was when he walked out, it was like a electrical cord that wasn't grounded, the whole arena just lit up. I love that title belt right there. That's the one I've got behind me with just with my name on it. But it was just different. The title belt right up there that you can see. That's Eddie's old title belt.
Wait. Hang on. Is that?
I believe that is actually the one up there. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll have Silva throw up a picture of Eddie. Will you grab that belt and hold it to the camera so we can see that? I'd really like to see it if that really is Eddie's belt.
Yep. Let me get it like here, and let me just a minute, and I'll get it. Let me see.
I can't believe this is real. Like I'll be honest with you. I thought this entire time, John, that was just a replica belt. Never did I ever think that was actually Eddie Guerrero's world title that was behind you. That's pretty badass. I can't wait to see this, man.
Yep, and I believe that is the case. I don't know 100% for sure, but I believe this is the belt.
Well, if you're sending pictures of this,
hates saying belt, but that's the belt, and I believe that is not a replica. I believe that is the original belt.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, heavy as it can be, and it's kind of worn and tore up from guys traveling with it all the time. But thankfully, when Cena got the belt and turned it into spinner belt, they let me keep the old one, and I believe that this is the original. This is not a replica.
Before I know you just put it down, but before you do, can you look at the tip of the leather? Can you show that to the camera so I can see not the part that maybe has a gold piece, but the other part? It might have a signature on it, like the very end of the very tip of the belt, the leather.
There's not a signature
on the inside. On the outside. Like I'm looking for a belt maker stamp is what I'm looking for, John.
Oh,
and it might be.
I don't know where it is.
Yeah. So those little black, see the snaps?
Yeah.
On the very tips, there should be like a flat, so just a finish. There you go. Is there anything on it?
No.
I can't really read that. Yeah.
Nope.
Man, that's interesting. Joe Marshall didn't put them on all of them. Oh yeah, it is blank. They started to request them without it. That's wild, man. What a cool.
I don't know if it. I don't know for sure. I'm not saying it 100% is, but I think it is. I think it's the original championship.
Whatever it is, man.
Because they didn't need it anymore because Cena turned it into a spinner belt, so I got to keep the old one.
Dude, that's super cool.
I don't believe that's a replica. I believe that's the original. And that's
that's a real belt. I don't think it's a replica either. I would have known from the leather, and there's no stamp on the end. So I may have you send some pictures to me off air, and I'll see if I can photo match it with some old images we have, because Eddie did a lot of promo shots, and sometimes you can see like a dent or a ding somewhere, and you can be like, oh, that's it for sure. Like my Savage IC, if you took a look at like the Honky Tonk Man's magazine cover of the WWF magazine, you can see near the top of the logo of the WWF, there's like a divot in the leather. Well, that's on mine. So then I know, oh, well, that's definitely it. That's the one. So we could probably photo match yours, but how cool is it that you still have Eddie Guerrero's belt? I get why he's number 2 for you.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Eddie was just different, man. You wish, again, like you say about so many different guys, you wish Brett would have not got hurt. You wish Eddie was still around. I mean, my God, man, he'd still be in wrestling and he'd still be doing stuff. Not wrestling probably, but he'd still be out there as a character. He's so freaking good. But I believe he belongs in the top 5. I got a bunch of honorable mentions, by the way, that could be in the top 5 as well. But I think Eddie, there's no doubt about it, belongs in the top 5.
Well, last but certainly not least, coming in at number 1 on John Bradshaw Layfield's top 5 list of second-generation talents, number 1 is The Rock. Probably no surprise, biggest star in the world. Why is The Rock number 1 for you?
For that reason. He's the biggest Hollywood star in the world right now. The stuff that he's done is just absolutely amazing. He's built all that himself. Now, forget the fact he's built it himself. It's what he's built that makes him this. How he's built it makes him who he is. But what he's built makes him the number 1 guy, in my opinion. There's nobody like The Rock. I mean, there's no one that the greatest movie star in the world today, biggest movie star in the world today. He moves the needle everywhere he goes, and he always has. When we were in the Attitude Era, and we would sit out there and we'd have one of the most loaded rosters in the history of wrestling, and we would have a show that was absolutely beyond belief how good it was. You should have seen some of these house shows back in the day. And then The Rock would go out afterwards, after a 2.5, 3 hour show of seeing this incredible talent, this great roster, this great show. And he, for 30 minutes, would do all his little silly catchphrases and stuff. Not one person would leave the arena. They would stay there and say all his catchphrases with him. Do you smell? All the different things that he would do. And he would just captivate people. He's just that way. There very few people are like him. You know, Arnold's like that from when I met him. There's a few people. Kerry Von Erich was like that. Very few people are just born with that. And Rock was born with a ton of it.
I'm fired up, man. What a cool list this was. Coming in at number 5 on JBL's top 5 second generation talent list was Charlotte Flair. Number 4 was a tie with Roman and Cody. Number 3 is Bret Hart. Number 4 is Eddie Guerrero. Number 1 is The Rock. And I was getting ready to yell at you and fuss and whine and complain. And I see now you've worked with our crack producer here. Not that he's on crack, but he could be. And you've listed not 1 honorable mention, not 2 honorable mentions, but 5 more. Terry Funk, Randy Savage, Kerry Von Erich, Kurt Hennig, and Ted DiBiase. What an incredible list. The former $1 Million Man, the former Mr. Perfect, the former Texas Tornado, the Macho Man himself, and middle-aged and crazy. He did it all, Terry Funk. What a list. But I notice Randy Orton's not on your list. I'm surprised. I just assumed
I made a mistake. He was on my list. He didn't get added. I put him in there. I don't know where he was. So yes, oh my goodness, Randy's got to be in the top 5. Bob's going to kill me. His dad's going to kill me. So yes, Randy's in the top 5. The top 5 just now became a top 5. He's in a tie with somebody. Put him in a tie with Eddie. So, oh my God, I can't leave Randy out. I love Randy. I think he's one of the greatest of all time. Randy is everything to me about professional wrestling. When I would say you built a sports entertainer from the ground up, it's Randy Orton. It's Randy Orton. There's no doubt about it. Randy Orton is just different level. Always has been. So Randy Orton, yes, 100%. He is in the top 5. Now, Terry Funk, I had a real challenge with because I wasn't sure should I put him in the top 5. He belongs in it, but wasn't 100% sure. So I put him as an honorable mention, but Terry certainly could be in the top 5 with any of those guys. I think they're all interchangeable. Now I got to say this because I love Dory and Marty. The reason I had to choose one Funk brother over the other, didn't have to choose them, was because Terry I tagged with, and I didn't tag with Dory. So that's how I made the decision of going with Terry over Dory. So no offense to Dory. Dory belongs in there as well, but I thought I don't need 2 Funks. So I put just 1 Funk, and I chose my tag team partner to go in there.
I mean, what a hard topic it is. I want to hear from you guys. Tell us in the comments below, who's in your top 5? Nobody asked me my top 5, but I think I'd have to put Randy Savage in there. I'd have to put Bret Hart in there. Of course, I'm a homer. I'm going to put Cody in there. Obviously, I got to put Charlotte Flair in there. I mean, you run out of space so quickly.
Really quick. I thought I could do it, and all of a sudden I realized I've got 10 people that I could all put in the top 5. And I know all of them, so I had to – it was tough to say, okay, this one's top 5, this one's honorable mention.
Folks, if you're not watching on YouTube, I highly recommend you stop what you're doing and go right now and go to somethingtowrestle.com because – John Bradshaw Layfield has black pussy crawling all over him right now, live on YouTube. John, how long have you had that little kitten there?
This one here is Jack Johnson. He's my favorite boxer in the world. So I got 3 rescue cats. I got Jack Johnson, who's my favorite boxer. Well, actually, Muhammad Ali is, but Jack Johnson was one of my favorites. Second favorite, like Satchel Paige, my favorite baseball pitcher. But I chose Nolan Ryan to name my cat. So I had 3 rescue cats. I all found them on the side of the road and stuff like that. So I got Baby Briscoe that I've showed on here. That's right over there asleep. That was Jack Johnson, and I've got Nolan, named after Nolan Ryan. So I got my favorite wrestler. I've got my favorite baseball player and my favorite boxer, all named after my cats.
You know, the Dos Equis man can suck it. You might actually be the most interesting man in the world. I do want to talk about some other news and notes. You mentioned a minute ago that The Rock is the biggest movie star in the world, and we have been saying that a lot. I just said it myself. Technically, that's not true this past weekend. I don't know if you saw the headlines, but The Rock had a new movie come out. put out by A24, and it's called The Smashing Machine. Now, if you're not a hardcore MMA fan, you may not be familiar with that movie, but I think it was in the very early 2000s, maybe the best MMA documentary of all time was put together, called The Smashing Machine. It's the story of Mark Kerr and his, we'll call it, toxic relationship with his girlfriend, Dawn, his friendship with his great close personal friend, Mark Coleman, and his trainer, Boss Rutan, as he's trying to struggle with his first MMA loss and some addiction issues. It was a fascinating human interest story. The documentary wound up being less about MMA and more about just the human spirit. And Mark Kerr, at least in my mind, was a cautionary tale of lost potential, or what could have been, because Mark Kerr never really achieved the financial success or fame that maybe people saw him on the amateur ranks and just assumed when mixed martial arts became a big thing. But it is a very niche topic and subject. So I'll admit I was kind of surprised when I saw The Rock was doing this, because The Rock is known for, hey man, I'm the president of the United States and the aliens are coming for us. Or, hey, you know, we're going to do some Rambo shit with Arnold Schwarzenegger and go blow up a country, or whatever it may be. But we're used to like action-packed movies, not a movie where he's going to have to really go deep and cry multiple times on camera and be vulnerable. And that's just not the type of performances that people have seen from The Rock. He almost feels like a modern Arnold Schwarzenegger. But I love the movie, John, the original documentary. So I was first in line to see it this weekend and thought it was fantastic. So I have to admit, I'm not normally a Rock movie guy. A lot of his movies are aimed at kids, or I don't know. I don't like superhero stuff. It's just not my thing. But when I saw A24 was involved and I loved this documentary, I thought, well, I want to see it the day it comes out. And I was disappointed to see that I guess they're calling this a flop. But I want to say that maybe people who were saying that, John, they're looking at it through the wrong lens. I don't think anybody had delusions that this story was going to be like a Marvel competitor. This is a different type of movie. And John, I don't know anything about Hollywood, but my perception is some movies are made to make a bunch of money and some are won to win a bunch of awards. And that feels like what this is going for. This is an award movie, not a box office movie. I loved it. I want everybody listening to this to not buy into the hype of, oh, this movie's a flop. Go watch the damn thing. Rock crushed it, John. He has this guy's cadence down, the way he speaks, his dialect, like he speaks very formally and he is very official. And I mean, he has all of that nailed. The way he walks, the way he dressed. It was almost like, if you remember a few years ago when Jamie Foxx did Ray Charles, it was kind of like that, but without singing. The Rock nailed it. I think this is his best performance. And I see fans online being like, LOL, it's a flop. It's like, it's fucking good, John.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard about it. You know, and the thing about it is you can do 3 or 4 movies a year and you can make your money, or you can make your legacy. And if you make your legacy, you're going to make a ton more money. And sometimes you do movies like this because they're good, not because they're going to do things like the Earth is being invaded by aliens. You're going to make $300 million off of it. You know, I was there when at WWE when Rock did the Get Shorty movie, and people were against it. People thought that was a bad idea. You know, they basically told him, look, stay in your lane and just be the next Rambo, be the next Arnold. There's a huge void for that right now. And as these guys are moving on to different stuff, you're going to fill that void. Rock wanted to be more than an action figure. That's why he took the role. And people were against it. It was brilliant what he did. It showed you how good he was. Now all of a sudden people are thinking we can use him for anything. And they have. But he has been terrific at career management. And he's done a lot of things that people have advised him against. But his gut and his feel, it's one of the reasons he's the biggest Hollywood star in the world today. And this movie, I think, was one of those, that he did it because he knew that he was going to deliver a legendary performance. You know, he may win an Oscar out of this. And if he does, I don't care if $200,000 is what it's made. It's worth every single bit of it, whatever you have, because of what's going to come from it. I think Rock's done great with his career, and I think what he's done with this is fantastic.
I really am looking forward to seeing, what the Oscar buzz, if anything, about this is for Rock, because I'll admit, as great as I thought Rock did, I don't know necessarily that he would win an award, but I do think he'll get nominations. And I think that people will see him in a different light. I hope they do, but he can do a lot more than just G.I. Joe movies or Fast and the Furious movies or Bang Bang Shoot 'em Ups or cartoons. Like, he really is trying and applying himself in a different direction. And I think that's really cool. I'm proud of him, and I'm pulling for this, because don't believe the hype. The Smashing Machine movie is very good, and I highly recommend it. Now, it's not necessarily something you want to take the whole family to see, or let's get all the kids together. I mean, it's serious adult themed content, but man, he was terrific. And I hope that wrestling fans will go support him. I'm disappointed to see wrestling fans excited that The Rock had a perceived failure. It's like, it's not, it's a critical, that was the point. And it's awesome. Go see it.
Yeah, if he gets nominated for an Oscar, whether he wins it or not, it is a massive success. And there are people just want to see successful people fail. And there are a lot of people that are arrogant assholes out in Hollywood. I mean, you've met some of these people. I mean, they think they hold the world, by the balls because they're actors or whatever the fuck they are. They're trained to be this or trained to be that. So how dare a guy come out here with all those muscles and was a former wrestler come out here and get nominated for an Oscar? Certainly he's not one of us. No, he's not. He draws a lot more money than you, and he's a lot better than you. So he's not one of you. I promise you that. But it's great to see. It's great to see. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. You get caught up in the microcosm of negativity, whether it's Twitter and some, few hardcore wrestling fans, or it's these Hollywood elite assholes. For the most part, people just want to be entertained out there. The average person out there goes to work, comes home, they want to see a movie and be entertained. They don't care about all this stuff. They're going to think that this movie is absolutely fantastic. And that's one of the people it's made for. And congratulations to The Rock. I think it's awesome. I hope he gets nominated. I hope he wins an Oscar. And I hope he carries that sumbitch with him everywhere. I would.
I'm pulling for him. I think it's really cool. I hope wrestling fans will give it a shot. I know it's an obscure subject and it's old school and it's before the UFC was big time and yada, yada, yada. But dude, it's so fun. He did a great job. We should all celebrate that.
Hey, and by the way, I sat out with Rulon Gardner. Man, what a good dude Rulon Gardner is. He is just a good human being. To beat how you pronounce his name, Carolyn, when he was supposedly unbeatable. Unbelievable legacy of Rulon Gardner. I mean, that guy is just a rock star. But he told me that Kerr and Angle really went at it. They were even afterwards there was like tension there between Kerr and Angle. That it was they were really some alpha males that were not happy about the other one being there. Just kind of butting heads.
I haven't talked to Kurt about it, but I have heard, and I don't know if this is true, that they're tied 4-4.
Really?
So Kerr beat Angle 4 times, and Angle beat Kerr 4 times. And to this day, there's not been a decisive winner.
Wow. Yeah, Rulon talked very fondly about it. I guess in '96 or whatever it was when they first were starting to compete against each other, and that there was a lot of tension between those two. There was a lot of competition.
Everything's wrestling, man. Go check it out. The Smashing Machine. It's in theaters now. Go support it. I know that some people think, I'll just see it later. Listen, if you're a pro wrestling fan, I want you to support pro wrestling projects so we get more of them. And the way we ensure that those things happen is not usually whether or not they're good. It's whether or not they made money. So go buy a damn ticket and see it. Don't try to bootleg it, because you will eventually bootleg yourself out of having anything fun to watch at all. So something that you won't run out of, though, are good tasty eats from our friends at Factor. Fall always feels like a bit of a reset. Everybody gets going back to school. We got busier routines. There's shorter days because the sun's going down sooner. And now we've got to find time to do all of our regular business, plus these new added chores, and we got to cook. Well, that's why I love Factor. Their chef prepped, dietitian approved meals make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season gets. There's more variety and more meals. You can choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including really premium seafood choices like shrimp at no extra cost. You can also support your wellness goals. Yeah, how about that? You can enjoy even more GLP-1 friendly meals. You got the new Mediterranean diet options also. They're packed with protein and all of your good for you fats. What about the global flavors? For the first time ever, Factor's introducing Asian inspired meals with bold flavors from China, Thailand, and more. They're switching it up. They got more choices than ever at Factor. And that's what they want you to do. Choose for better nutrition. 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. Feel the difference no matter your routine. So not only does it taste great, you're going to feel better about what you're eating. And by the way, you're going to save some money too. Eat smart at factormeals.com/wrestle50off. Use our code wrestle50off and you'll get 50% off your first box. Plus you'll get free breakfast for a year. That's code wrestle50off at factormeals.com. You'll get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for a year. Get delicious, ready to eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto renewing subscription purchase. Factormeals.com/wrestle50off. And the promo code is wrestle50off. So, John, we've seen a lot of news that I want to hit as we get ready to wind down today's show. Florida has unveiled a new Hulk Hogan trail. Did you see this news? I mean, we just saw that there's Hulk Hogan Day. That's been announced, but now in Tampa, specifically Clearwater, there is, I guess, a beautiful walking trail that's now been dedicated to Hulk Hogan. It connects Clearwater to Clearwater Beach. And now you'll be able to go get some reps in at workout stations that are all decked out in Hogan's signature red and yellow colors. I mean, I think this is so cool that they've made the outdoors in Clearwater Beach. We all know he was a big beach bum, and they're going to have red and yellow workout session areas. Like, this is awesome, dude. What a great tribute for a pro wrestler. No?
Yeah, this is really cool. I saw Jimmy Hart over the weekend out in Beverly Hills, and he had just come from this, and he was telling me about DeSantos was a huge Hogan fan, a huge wrestling fan. So I think it's cool. I think it's cool what they're doing for Hogan. I think it's cool the legacy that he's had. You know, he is one of the most influential people, certainly in wrestling history, and he's certainly in the top 3. You know, if it hadn't been for him, you know, WrestleMania doesn't take off like it does. He was the right guy at the right time, happened to be in that movie with Stallone, and then comes in that right after that, comes into WrestleMania season. He was so influential for what he's done. I think this is fantastic what they're doing in Florida. It's a terrific legacy that will live on a long time.
What I was also proud to see is Nick Hogan sort of front and center accepting this. The red and yellow sign is already up on the Clearwater Memorial Causeway Trail. It was up Friday morning, and Nick Hogan said Clearwater was always home for him. No matter how far he traveled around the world or where his career took him, he was always grounded here. He loved to inspire people to be the best version of themselves. So this trail isn't just a dedication. This is a living legacy. And I know that, you know, listen, Hogan has his critics. That's a conversation for another day. But as a little kid, I think we'll all remember him going on TV every week and saying, say your prayers, train hard, you know, the whole thing. So he's given the commandments of Hulkamania. And the training hard thing, now you can do that on his trail. What a cool legacy, dude.
It is cool. You know, I was in college when WrestleMania, 1 through 3 happened. And I remember one of my little college suite mates, John Busey, who is still a dear friend of mine. Hulkamania rules. You know, everybody was a Hulkamaniac. You know, I remember going to one of the first shows and sitting there in the crowd watching Hogan. How great it was. I was playing pro football down in San Antonio at the time, and I got off. Mike Riley, who ended up coaching at Nebraska and the San Diego Chargers, let me off of a team meeting that night to go watch a wrestling match. I think he knew I was probably going into wrestling at some point, but it was so cool. Hogan was there. Hogan was on top. It was Hogan in person. There's nothing like it, man, especially back in the day. It's just unbelievable time in history.
We know that, you know, there's a precedent set for celebrating wrestler legacies. I mean, I think we've all seen the Crusher statue. We know that El Santo has a statue in Mexico. I think there's a Tiger Jeet Singh school in Ontario. Now there's a Hulk Hogan trail. If there was going to be some sort of dedication or legacy or memorial thing for JBL, what would be a fun fit for that?
Oh, it'd be a casino is what it'd be. It'd be a casino. It'd be sports betting. You'd be able to get wings. You'd be able to get drinks, and you'd have televisions everywhere. Absolutely. And you could bet on all kinds of sports. So, yeah, that'd be the greatest legacy for me.
I mean,
and you'd have probably rescue cats everywhere.
Okay, well, you threw me a curveball, but I was about to say, so just like any old Buffalo Wild Wings would work.
Yes, yeah. Just kind of put like my hat, like the buffalo there.
Oh gosh. Let's talk about.
I used to take a picture of the buffalo that was at Ted's, Montana, and
yeah,
I'd always send it and say it reminded me of Chimmel, just because it had like a big head, and apparently they're really dumb.
The Ted's Montana Grill. So it's a chain restaurant that Ted Turner owns.
Yes.
And they have a menu filled with buffalo. So you could eat a buffalo steak or a bison burger or whatever. Yeah, I enjoy it too. But I know when you said Ted's Montana, I'm sure some of our listeners are like, hey, what is he talking about? I haven't seen that. What is that?
Yeah, it's Ted Turner Steakhouse. They had one there in New York around 57th Street. I used to go to it all the time. Took Gerald Briscoe when we were there to show him, because I wanted to apologize, for us coming in, taking his land and killing all the buffalo. And so I thought he should eat one of them. And of course, they had the buffalo up there that had like Chimmel, big, fat, and dumb head. And so it made Mr. Briscoe feel at home. He's still mad about buying, Manhattan for some trinkets and a bag of Bizud.
I was wondering, I've worked myself into a shoot here, brother, because I've heard back in the day, I've heard Bruce refer to, I think it's Carl DeMarco, as old Bison Head.
That's right, Bison Head. That's right. I actually used to send pictures to all my group about, hey, Carl DeMarco's here. Every time I would eat at Ted's Montana, I actually didn't do it with Chimmel, but people know Chimmel better, and I love picking on Chimmel. But I would do it with my Carl DeMarco, the head of WB Canada. Oh yeah, he had like a size 52 head. Like instead of like a 7 1/4 head, a 52 3/8 head.
All righty. I thought to myself, was Mantar and that silly outfit and that gimmick, was that somehow related to Ted's Montana Grill? Because if you take
Carl DeMarco.
Well, I had to look up, when did Ted's Montana Grill first open? And it was January of 2002. So that wouldn't line up. I think that was the mid 90s. So now my follow-up question is, since we know that wasn't Vince sort of tongue-in-cheek goading Ted Turner with Mantar, was he just having fun with Bison Head Carl DeMarco? And how am I just now putting that together?
There's not much doubt about it. It's like when Chavo was Kerwin. That was after Kerwin, our guy who was a producer. Vince, everything was an inside joke to Vince. So, yes, I don't doubt at all that Mantar was freaking Carl DeMarco, Redux from Toronto down wherever Mantar was. I mean, the head was so big he couldn't even get between the second and third rope. It was such a poorly designed costume.
I just can't. How was this lost on me? And it was in front of me the entire time that Mantar was loosely based on Carl DeMarco.
I think 100% that is true. It has to be. There's no other way to explain it.
Well, listen, since we're going down the cast of ridiculous characters,
they had a Carl DeMarco, just his head, and they literally underneath it had head of WWE Canada. And I know that was somebody ribbing him for that. It had to be.
So instead of saying he's the president of WWE Canada or whatever, we called him the head.
It just was a picture of his head, and underneath it, it was like in a regular shoot newspaper or something, head of WWE Canada. And it was just his head. It was like one of the funniest things. That's got Vince written all over it.
All right. I got to ask, and we've already done it now, so I probably should have asked this ahead of time, but we're live to tape, boys and girls. Does he know that you guys called him Bison Head? Is he in on the joke?
Yeah, I think he was. Carl was a good guy. Was a good guy. He's still alive, so I'm sure he's still a good guy. I don't know. He wasn't. I don't dislike Carl at all. Carl was nice. He was nice as he could be. He started in the business being like Bret Hart's old driver or something, and he worked his way up, and he became the head of WWE Canada. And so he was always up there for appearances and stuff like that. And Carl was very pleasant. Carl was very pleasant to work with.
The head.
But he had a. I mean, last time I saw something that big, it had ropes on it.
Oh.
It looked like a Macy's Day Parade, actually, just like walked off and put itself on somebody's shoulders.
Are we doing a roast of Carl DeMarco here right in the middle of the show?
I haven't heard about. I hadn't even thought about Carl in 20-something years. I like Carl, but yes, you're the one that brought him up with the Bison Head and the Ted's Montana and Bruce.
Well, you said Chimmel, and I was like, well,
Yeah,
Bruce.
Everybody bashes Chimmel.
All right, that's my bad. I'll get back in line. Hey,
so I'm sorry, Carl. I hope you're doing well. Chimmel, I hope you're horrible. Hope you fall into a sewer and drown in shit.
Wow, that was a little stiff. I want to talk about Jericho. I want to talk about Booker T. Mostly, I want to talk about John Cena. But
I text Chimmel almost every day.
Can you read us your recent text? Can you read us your most recent text to Chimmel? Whatever you're allowed to legally say on air.
It's probably not allowed because of reasons of profanity. And
let's take a stab at it.
I will. I got to find the text thread because the text thread is celebrating Chimmel's demise. Was the name of the text thread. So I've got to find the text thread because in it, there's all kinds of people that have all wished Chimmel horrible, horrible things like death daily. So I just got to find it. And it was
wishing death on people, though, maybe.
Here it is, celebrating Chimmel's demise. And you've got some wonderful people here. Steve Rubin was the one that actually named that.
Great guy.
Terrific guy, yes. Here's somebody that asked him, said, Chimmel, do they let you put your chins in the overhead? Because they've got this person being moved here, and it says here, Chimmel, glad to see the airlines have figured out how to move you around. It's a large person being moved. And let's see. Hey, Chimmel, this is a bridge near where Evel Knievel jumped Snake River. It's called Suicide Bridge. I got you a reservation. And Chimmel says, dinner for two, you buying? That was his response. So let me see what else. Let's see. Found this part of your favorite baseball player, and it was a picture of Fred Flintstone. Hey, JBL, you can draw a crowd in football just like you did in wrestling, because he's trying to say that I didn't do any good. And my response was, I'd like to draw your funeral brochure. So this is a daily thing that goes on with Chimmel and several people that are either in the WWE or formerly in the WWE. But yes, there's some very entertaining stuff on the Chimmel thread.
I had my finger on the button. I was ready to just, if you were going to rip off the bad words, I was ready, but didn't have to get there. But yeah, coming up next week on Long Distance Hazing with JBL. No, just kidding. Hey, real quick, let's talk about Magic Spoon. By now, you know Magic Spoon makes high protein, zero sugar cereal and treats reinvented from your childhood. You can taste the nostalgia. And every serving of Magic Spoon cereal has 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and only 4 grams of net carbs. And they come in all your favorite flavors you grew up on. What about fruity, cocoa, frosted? Sound familiar? Yeah, that's what it tastes like. Not only that, their high protein treats from Magic Spoon are my favorite. They're crispy, they're crunchy, they're airy, and an easy way to get 12 grams of protein on the go. They taste just like Mom used to make. If you pick up the marshmallow flavor, I know that our producer, he likes chocolate peanut butter. I prefer double chocolate. No matter what you're looking for, Magic Spoon is great on the go, pre or post workout, or even as a midnight snack. Go get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/wrestle, or look for Magic Spoon on Amazon or in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/wrestle for $5 off. John, I felt like you had something else about Chimmel.
I did, yes. On July 4th, there was a very big fight. Now, if you go back in history, you find out that the English fought the Brits, and not the English, the Americans, because the Brits are the English, but all speak English. The Americans fought the Brits in the Revolutionary War and ended up being lucky enough to either win or whatever it was and get our own country. So we were in Phoenix one time, and we found these sumo outfits. So we put Limey in there, a Brit, wonderful guy. Dad was a wonderful man, and put him in one and put Chimmel in another in 2 fat suits. And they had a fat off for July 4th to revisit the American Revolutionary War. But it's kind of like the movie Gladiator, where the emperor says, correct me if I'm wrong, but in history, didn't we win that one? Chimmel lost to the English that day. Lost the gentleman that Neil, who we call Limey, lost to Neil. And so this is every July 4th, we heckle him and remind him that he embarrassed America. And this is one of the quotes was that days that will live in infamy. This is from somebody else on the thread, by the way. Pearl Harbor Day, 9/11, and Fat Fuck Failure Day. That was the day that Chimmel lost to Neil and embarrassed America on our birthday.
Wait, hang on. What were you saying we were going to rename it?
Fat Fuck Failure Day.
Wait. I didn't catch it with the beep. Can you say it again?
It's Fat Fuck Failure Day. Is what it is. So yeah, Chimmel put on a fat suit, which is not necessarily needed, but they both had fat suits on. Cena was the referee. We had commentators. The whole company let out to watch this in the ring, and they both were having these big sumo outfits, where the arms kind of hardly move, like this. And they fought like this. Well, Neil beat the shit out of Chimmel. I mean, Neil was like a big. Chimmel wasn't quite ready for the onslaught from the guy we call Limey. It was his nickname. It is his nickname. Wonderful guy, lives down in Texas now, Neil, and he beat Chimmel on July 4th and embarrassed America. Absolutely ruined our July 4th, our holiday, and so that's why it's named Fat Fuck Failure Day.
I'm really happy with how this show is coming together. I know you took a stand at the very beginning of the show and you said this was your show and Bruce isn't welcome back. But
it may be our last show. This may be like Chimmel losing on July 4th. It may just be like, that's it. We're done. But yeah, the whole company let out. So I believe Cena was the referee. We had announcers. We had all kinds of different stuff. I mean, this was a big deal. This was a WWE production. July 4th, we are going to relive the American Revolution of America fighting the Brits. And so we had an American, we had a Brit. The problem was the Brit whooped that American's ass, and America was humiliated, absolutely humiliated. Shocking and embarrassing.
From henceforth, that day would be known as
Fat Fuck Failure Day.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Booker T. I don't know if you saw, but I guess he got people hot and bothered. I don't know exactly what happened, but he was on his podcast recently and he talked about a messed up finish. I think everybody was talking about this on SmackDown a few weeks ago. Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax, Jade Cargill. Jade got laid open, man. I mean, just busted wide open. One of the nastiest cuts we've seen. Clearly there's a miscommunication with the referee. It was just, it was a mess. Here's pretty much what Booker T said. Something like, quote, "You could tell there was a lot of miscommunication. You've got an NIL talent, Tiffany Stratton. You've got Jade Cargill, who's pretty much fresh off of her AEW run. And just think about that time in AEW for her. She probably didn't learn a whole lot because no disrespect or anything, but she was just put on a wing and never really got a chance to wrestle anybody. Then you got Nia Jax, who's been there. Of course, is going to feel like I need to quarterback this thing. I feel like I know more than these girls." Well, people are fired up about this. I don't know why, but it's not like Jade is exactly fresh off of her AEW run. She has been in WWE for 2 years, but I think the tribalism so much that people just won't give anybody the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why. It was silly to me, but the idea that people are upset with Booker T about this, like Jade was in AEW. There aren't house shows in the modern era, really. You do need reps to get better. That's the point he was trying to make, but it feels like people are just getting sideways about Booker T for no reason to me. What do you think of this?
I completely agree. I don't know why Booker T could be such a lightning rod. He's just such a good dude. And Booker T's a smart guy. He's sitting there and he's talking and he's got 2 Hall of Fame rings on. I mean, that should tell you something. And he's correct about the fact of inexperience. By the time we got into wrestling in WWE, we'd had 1,000 matches somewhere. Guys will go their whole career and not have 1,000 matches. That's just what we did before we got to WWE. We had this huge educational background before we got there. That's why I say it was actually easier on us because of what we had to do to get to WWE than it is on these performers, because they don't have that educational background and they're learning on global television. Booker and I both ended up with matches like this. the best part about it was, for the most part, these matches were somewhere in some little bitty territory that nobody saw way off television. These people have to learn on global television. And because of that, people are going to try to draw all types of assumptions from it and all type of, but the guy in this that's not the bad guy is not Booker. Shit happens. That's the essence of this. Shit happens. You plan things out to be perfect and things happen. Agents have become so much more important to wrestlers today because there aren't live events. There aren't house shows. So you got to put this all together. Well, what happens when it goes off the rails? That's what everybody talks about. That's why you need live events. But I don't know if you do or not. In this world, you're not going to get them. So it doesn't matter if you need them or not. You got to be able to figure out what to do. You don't have the ability to ad lib and do other things. That's not a sign of their intelligence. That's not a sign of their abilities. It's just a sign of experience. And Booker's right about Nia was the one that's the quarterback in all this because she's the one that has more experience. Bottom line is shit happens. And when it does, it goes south. You try to cover it as best you can, but sometimes you can't.
Yeah, it just was like, to me, the tribalism, and I understand people were trying to pile on to Booker T here based on tribalism, like, oh, she's been here for 2 years and she had more WWE matches than AEW. The point he was trying to make is, and I'm not speaking for Book, so maybe I shouldn't do this, but it just feels like, hey, in his day, in your day, John, if you'd been in the business 2, 4, 5, 6 years, you've probably wrestled a multiple of the matches of folks who are getting in the business right now. That's the difference, right? Reps.
Yeah, that's the whole difference. We had more matches by the time we got to WWE than people have their entire 30-year careers now.
Yes.
We had worked 5 to 7 days a week when we first started. Worked double shots on the weekend. Not every week, but that was most weeks. And so we were working all the freaking time. Now guys will tell you when they start out in the business, they'll have 3 or 4 matches a month. And I'll ask guys all the time, how many matches are you working? It's generally somewhere between, let's say, 2 to 8 matches a month. We had that a week, and we had them in all kinds of different places with all kinds of different great talent. We didn't have it with other young talent, which I know sometimes they work with older guys, but for the most part, they're working with each other. We were working with older talent, just going out there in the middle of the ring and learning. We had a complete different educational backdrop. It was much easier on us because of that than it is on these guys having to learn on global television. I would have hated to learn on global television.
Man, you said it. Let's talk about some other news that I want to get your attention on before we or after we've clicked record. Since we've been on the air today, a report has come out from the Wrestling Observer camp, and it says it was actually originally shared back in July, according to Wrestle Purists. Dave Meltzer states that Gunther is planned to be John Cena's final opponent. Quote, 2 sources have confirmed that the latest plan is for a tournament to be announced, possibly on the air by Paul Levesque, with top wrestlers vying to be Cena's last opponent. But multiple have confirmed, however, it reaches the conclusion that Gunther was the person chosen for the match. Now, of course, this is a Dave Meltzer report, not piling on Dave. I know he's had a pretty trying week this week. People are after him in a big way. I'm not trying to do that here. I'm trying to instead have a more important conversation. Gunther as John Cena's last opponent. You and I have freestyled a whole list of folks. Could it be The Rock? Could it be Cody Rhodes again? Could it be something else with Brock? Will they do something with Logan Paul? Maybe we even freestyled early in the year. What if it's Braun Breaker? But Gunther makes a lot of sense. Yeah. You're obviously a fan of both of these guys. You know John real well. You've gotten to know Gunther. What do you expect here? Is Gunther a great opponent for John Cena's last match?
Yes. You need somebody that can carry what he's going to be given being that last match. Whether he goes over or not, that is a huge honor to be Cena's last opponent. And you're going to have a lot of stuff that is transferred to you, a lot of equity from Cena transferred into that opponent, especially depending on the finish, into Gunther, if Gunther is the guy. Gunther can carry it. I don't think there's any doubt about that. That guy is a freaking worker. He's a great worker. He has a great presence about him. He's a terrific heel. I think Gunther will be able to do a lot with it. Not just have a good match. I mean, because I believe, now I'm not can't read John Cena's mind, but I feel like I know what he's thinking, that, I want to give something to this guy, because we all kind of feel that way when we, going out of the business, or at least I think we do. And John's one of those guys certainly that does. That's why he's put over so many guys in his career. He's very unselfish, probably to a fault. But can he carry that once he's gotten it? And I think the answer is going to be yes, if that's Gunther. I think he's that good to me. I'm a huge fan of Gunther.
I am too. I'm curious. Do you think this cements Gunther as a heel long term? Like, it feels like if he takes a page out of Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar's book, then he starts doing all this. I'm the one in 21-1, that version. I retired John Cena, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you're the guy who lays waste to John in his last match and leaves him laying, or whatever the creative may be, then he certainly, as a bad guy, wants to take credit for that. But does that keep him as a heel forever? I would be okay with that. But I'm learning from listening to guys like you and Bruce and Jeff that, hey, once you hate a guy, eventually you love the guy. Could he eventually be a babyface? Is there a Gunther babyface run if he beats John Cena in his last match?
Oh, no doubt about it. They're going to be a great babyface run in the future. Once you're a heel long enough, people love you because your work. You know, I saw Killer Tim Brooks be a heel one night in the Sportatorium. You know, Fritz von Erich, you know, not just to choose him because he had a German character, but Fritz was a great heel and became a terrific babyface in the same German character that he was as a heel. Not to draw the comparison just because they're both German, but the same type heel. Gunther could be a terrific babyface in the same version of the heel that has gotten him over. So, yeah, 100%. If that's the run that they so choose, I think it'd be terrific for him. I think he can stay a heel. I think he's that good. It's hard to stay a heel. It's hard to stay a heel for a long time. You got to constantly figure out what can you do to make people dislike you rather than just be entertaining. You know, Vince and I used to have this talk all the time about JBL when he'd tell me at times, don't be entertaining out there tonight. Just be a heel, you know, because he could sense that I was being too entertaining in my promos. You know, sometimes when you have an opponent that's not that great, you know, not a, you know, future Hall of Famer, not, you know, you would sit there, you know, try to make chicken soup out of chicken shit, and you'd be entertaining as you could be because you're carrying the weight for both of you, you know. And to Gunther, he can do that, but he can also, I think, carry that being a heel. I think he can stay a heel if he wanted to, which would be hard to do, but I think he also could easily switch to be a babyface in time.
We want to hear from you guys. Who do you think should be John Cena's last opponent? Should his last opponent be Gunther? Would you have Gunther pick up the win? Would you send the Cena Super Nation home happy and let Cena win his last match? Let us know in the comments below if that is the direction they're heading. We'll be talking about it in the coming weeks here on Something to Wrestle with John Layfield. At least until he gets in a physical fight with Bruce Prichard, and then maybe the lawyers have to get involved.
I'm going to find out if that man belongs in all those karate Hall of Fames.
Okay.
Yep.
How many of them's he in again?
38.
Okay.
Bruce in 38 karate Hall of Fames. Chuck Norris is in like 12.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee is in 11.
Wow.
Bruce is in 38 Hall of Fames.
Who would have thought that the most prolific Bruce in a karate Hall of Fame wouldn't be Lee, it would be Prichard?
100%.
Nobody would have thought
yeah,
that.
That's right. Yeah. Bruce Prichard is much more the big MMA guy than Bruce Lee.
Maybe that'll be the name of his new podcast. You know, since you're saying Something to Wrestle is yours, maybe Something to Kick with Bruce Prichard.
Oh, I love that. That's a good idea. And by the way, you know, I kind of have, it's kind of a who's who on the Chimmel's thread that we have. We might just have to make this into a weekly Fat Fuck Failure Day.
Wait, I wasn't ready. What's the name of it we're going to do again?
Well, Fat Fuck Failure Day off the July 4th when he embarrassed America and lost to the Brits in the recreation of the American Revolution. But my thread there is like a who's who of like wrestling people that are in. I can't tell you their names because I don't have their permission, and plus they may not want to be associated with Chimmel.
Which, by the way, you know, if you do wind up, well, we need to talk merch ideas because I do think that we could be on to something with some of these ideas that you freestyled here today. I got my juice going.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And if we can get a 12X shirt, we can give one to Chimmel and get him to use it, wear it.
Okay, boys and girls, long distance hazing coming to a podcast app near you soon. In the meantime, hit the subscribe button this Saturday, as a reminder, is Crown Jewel. It's going to be live as soon as you wake up in the morning. I know on Saturdays, you normally turn on College Game Day. I do too. We're going to have to do a 2-screen experience because WWE Crown Jewel is happening this weekend, Saturday morning, and immediately following the conclusion of the pay-per-view, immediately come right here to YouTube, somethingtowrestle.com. We want to hear from you. Did Cody win? Did Seth win? And what's happening next? John Cena is going to wrestle for one of the very last times against AJ Styles. You'll never see this match again. We're going to break it down, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll do it for free right here on YouTube. You'll be interacting with John, asking John questions about the show, and giving your feedback. Make plans to join us at somethingtowrestle.com. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. John, I see you're working on something.
Yes, I am, because I want to be clear here about Chimmel. Now, this is a mutual thing here on this test thread. Chimmel is a very creative person, by the way. He's very funny, and he actually is. I've just read you my stuff. Chimmel actually right here, because somebody whose name I can't mention that you would know very, very well, said, I think Conrad, you could spring for a scooter, Chimmel, to help you with your fatness. It'd be like the McGuire twins on the same bike. Chimmel's response, how about a cup of go fuck yourself? That's Chimmel. And the person's name, who the hell is Conrad? Are the McGuire twins? Who are you? So this is Chimmel's. This is actually every single day that this goes on with Chimmel.
With friends
and
like
you were in that thread, by the way. You were just kind of an innocent bystander in that thread.
Well, do you think hypothetically, if we do spin up another podcast, would we just kill the town if we had Chimmel cameos?
100%, yeah, no doubt about it. But it'd be fun to watch it burn.
Oh, I got an idea. Hypothetically, if you're thinking what I'm thinking and I'm thinking what you're thinking, and Bruce does try to come back, and it's against both of our wills because we're having fun right now. We want to keep this going. What if we replace me with Chimmel?
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yes.
Can you imagine if Bruce went to fire up his computer and he thinks it's going to be me, him, and Silva, and it's me, him, and Chimmel, and he'll have no idea?
That's right. I think it'd be perfect. Absolutely
fun. That could be fun.
Vince literally said one day, if I could ever find out what Chimmel does, I'll fire him.
Wow. Do you think hypothetically, just for fun, we could get a Carl DeMarco run in at some point?
Oh, that would be great.
We'd have to get a wide angle lens for his head. I get that.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Figure out how to do that.
Yes. Carl's a good guy. I like Carl. He does have a very large head, but we always kind of made fun of that. But yes, Carl would be a great run in. I don't know what he's doing now. He was sure he was good at what he did because Canada was on fire when he was running the place, when he was the head of Canada.
The head of Canada. Maybe on your new podcast set, which we're definitely not in the process of constructing right now. Maybe we should get a buffalo head, get it mounted, put a cowboy hat on it, and a little placard underneath, like a nameplate that just says Carl.
Absolutely, 100%.
Could be a good set piece.
And this one is Baby Briscoe. See, you can tell by the white paws. This is Briscoe.
Why did the white paws determine that was Briscoe? Is that just the way it shook out, or is he getting his Mickey Mouse on?
No, that's just the way it shook out. 100%. It had nothing to do with it. He's just a cute little cat, and I always liked the tuxedo cats, they call them. They're black and white cats. I always liked tuxedo cats. I always had one for some reason. I guess when I was a kid, I had one, and kind of ever since, I've always had a tuxedo cat, or at least regularly had one. So I got this little cute cat. Was only 2 pounds. They found it on the side of the road. It was sick as it could be. Didn't know if it was going to live or not. And now it's like 6.5 pounds. So it's tripled in size. And it's Baby Briscoe. It's named after Mr. Gerald Briscoe.
John, lifetime, how many cats do you think you've adopted or sponsored?
Oh, 40 or 50 probably. I've always had animals. I've always saved, rescued animals and, got them and saved them and brought them in and everything. Yeah. So when I was in Athens, Texas, I had a bunch of rescue cats, and I built holes in the tunnels in the walls, and they would go in between walls, so they could walk through from one room to the other without going through the door. and they could, climb around, had little ramps up the walls and things out on the fence and stuff, was all mushed together, and a whole play yard.
Does, I think I heard her leave earlier. Does Mrs. Layfield listen to the podcast?
She does hear it. So she works upstairs in her office. So she does hear some of it. Yes.
But I mean, she's not like just in her drive to work. Let's listen to what my John said to Conrad. Right? That doesn't happen,
No,
right?
Does not happen. No, if she doesn't hear it specifically being done, she does not tune in. Absolutely not.
So let me ask.
You wouldn't even know where to find it. You wouldn't even know where to find it.
That's what I was hoping for. So I'm going to ask in a hushed tone because I'm not trying to get anybody in.
He's gone, so it's okay.
Oh, okay, good. Let's just let it rip, Tater Chip. What you said you've adopted and taken in 40 or 50 cats in your lifetime. In your career, what have you had more of, cats or rats?
That's a great question. Wow. Boy, sorry we're out of time. When's Bruce coming back?
We'll see you next week. There's something.
We'll see you next week. Cats and rats. We're back with the big cheese. Dave Silva's the big cheese.
Bruce Prichard will be back next week, boys and girls. We'll see you soon. Right. On Something to Wrestle with, at least for a few more days.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.